Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Jim Cornette Experience, almost the great Brian Last memorial episode, but he's still hanging on by his fingernails, so we're just going to cover the week in bad wrestling, have some viewer mail and general tomfoolery of all descriptions. And to join me, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard podcast network, Mr. Co-host to you. He's a traveling man, made a lot of stops all over New Jersey. The great Brian Last, everybody.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again. And of course, being a big Ricky Nelson fan, I appreciate the Ricky Nelson there to start the show.
Well, stay off those private planes. Brian, you have done what most mere mortal men would consider impossible over the past, 5 days? And you said you were going to do this ahead of time. We dangled some teases. We didn't come out and tell the people out there in the cult of Cornette, but you have achieved almost the impossible while almost having a mental breakdown and potentially going to jail and or suing a number of people along the way. And you have moved your family of 6 from one location to the other location, a new location, a new Last Manor, amidst a snowstorm, sub-zero weather, uncooperative internet technicians, and a general sense of chaos has surrounded you all week. Is this a good description of your state over the past week?
Yes. You've said nothing wrong so far.
And every time I've spoken to you, you have started out by saying in some description, so this motherfucker.
Well, let me just say, the war is over. We have won. So there's nothing else to fight for, but
the flag is planted.
In life, in business, especially with my family, I look for win-win situations. Let's make a deal where we're both happy. However, if you start fucking around, then I'm going to go completely nuts and you're going to really regret it. And unfortunately, that happened. And in the process of this purchase of this home and of this move, yes, various people were threatened with lawsuits in multiple states from multiple different parties. Yes, several people had to be threatened with the potential of brand new programming following them and their family and their exploits all around the world. With a season finale being the daughter's wedding. I mean, lots of different things happened. But I will say no one has been sued. One person was hospitalized with a little bit of a situation.
What? Wait a minute. Hold on. This is news to me.
I thought I told you the other day. One of the people involved got very stressed out by this, and unfortunately, she had to be hospitalized.
I remember that. I thought this was news since that was.
No. She's out.
What, 4 or 5 days ago now? Is she out already?
She's out. She's doing well. We're all doing well. Everyone's happy. Here we are in the brand new, magnificent new Last Manor. And you're right. Fios, who I've always put over, completely let me down. Told me they could install my new house. And then the minute of, all of a sudden they said, oh, we thought you were in a different town. We can't do your house. So I had to go and get a whole new service, which told me to self-install.
Wait, they thought that your house was in a different town after you gave them your address.
With the zip code. And somehow they still thought it was in a different place. And they couldn't do my place, so I had to go to get a new company, a self-install of the internet and the cable, which somehow worked magnificently.
And it only took them 3 hours to get you off that fucking roof.
Almost every single party involved in this pissed me off to a point where I made sure they understood why it was a bad idea to piss me off. The one party I'll say that didn't, and I hope you don't mind, I want to give them a plug here on the air.
Please do.
White Glove Moving here in New Jersey. These fucking guys are top of the line, first class. Adam in the office, I know, is a big fan of the show, and what an amazing crew we had. And I just want to say, they know how to do things professionally. They're solid people. I like White Glove Moving. That's what
White Glove Moving. They're A-okay in our book because, see, that I went the other way. One time, one of my moves, I got Rubber Glove Moving. And boy, that was, I tell you, I couldn't even unclench my toes for a week. But I understand that your previous internet company at Old Last Manor was nice enough to be really on top of the game and on top of things. And they not only turned your internet off like they were supposed to, but they turned it off a day early just to make sure.
Oh, yeah. Let me just, we'll end, I guess, with this, or if you want to keep going, we can. Two big fuck ups. The mailman, who we can also
I just love it when someone else has chaos and confusion besides me.
The mailman, who's another moron. It's a new mailman. Our old mailman, the guy who told me to watch out for the coyotes, they've like forced him into retirement. And I knew he was losing it a little bit because one day we just saw him wandering in the woods behind the house.
He was looking for the coyotes.
He was looking for something. He's into cutting down trees. I don't know. But all of a sudden we have a new guy. I put in the request to forward my mail, and then the mail just stops before the request was supposed to be enacted. So I call up and I say, hey, what's going on? I haven't received any of my mail. Oh, your carrier saw that and he decided to put it in early. So they could do that? They could just decide to put it in early? So I'm waiting on my mail. That's a fucking problem.
Now, wait a minute. So in other words, it wasn't that the dingo ate your baby. It was that the coyotes got your mailman.
Possibly. We don't know. And then who else was I was about to rant about someone else, and I don't even remember who.
The internet people.
Oh, the internet fucking people. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they fucking guy.
Verizon Fios. I've loved Verizon Fios. Although now I have Xfinity, and this fucking rocks. Verizon Fios, being responsible, I say, I need you to shut off the internet at this date. I need it to instantly be turned on at the other location at this time. I planned out everything. I had everything good. They told me everything was okay. Then they just shut it off. And I said, hey, what the hell? Why did you shut it off? And they said, well, we accidentally put it in a day early. I said, okay, can you put it back on? No, we can't put it back on because the next people who purchase your house already have a ticket in for their service. So I had a day without internet, which I didn't expect, which caused me to...
Which is like a day without sunshine.
I made so many people miserable that day. I almost feel bad, but I don't.
And then you drug your children and your poor wife out in the snow and moved them across New Jersey in inclement weather.
Snow and ice. It was an ice storm.
Snow and ice.
But we're here. Look, the war is over. We are here. This is fantastic. And now we're going to have a great time.
Yeah, but I'm just telling now that you're in the new Last Manor, watch out for the Huns. They'll be over the hill any time now. You're going to have to fight them off. Man the turrets. Put the kids up on the battlements with hot oil.
We'll see what happens. I'm not too worried about the security around here. I'll just say that.
Well, there you go. And obviously you've had people in to wire the place and booby trap it.
Oh, yeah. That was the first thing I fucking did. That was the first thing I fucking did.
You got a lot of people out after you, son.
I mean, you're joking, but I'm not. I love booby traps. Ever since I was a kid and I saw Goonies, I said, one day I'm going to be an adult and I'm going to make sure I can fucking booby trap my house so that if anyone breaks in, it's going to be just, not just torture, but just ridiculous torture. I'm good.
You have been waiting. See, this is what happens when people grow up, supposedly, chronologically, possibly, but not mentally, like you and me, and get a little bit of disposable income, and I've got the Anne Frank room, and you've got homemade booby traps. Good heavens.
I didn't say homemade, but yes.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure they're very professionally done. I'll tell you what, I bit the bullet for you, I'll have you know, Brian Last. Over the last week, knowing that you were going to be somewhat incommunicado, cut off from the outside world, didn't know when you were going to be getting your news and being able to keep up with the happenings and everything, I took one for the team, and I have perused and reviewed and even looked at some of it. A lot of fucking bad wrestling this week, so that we would be up to date for the people, for the viewers, for the listeners, for the cult of Cornette on what's going on in the world of wrestling this week, even if I know you have tried to see what you can or could. But I have, and I'll tell you, here's where I made my mistake, I believe, Brian. Because, you know, we talked, I don't even want to get another debate started about the pizza business. That's drama for another day, as Conan used to say. But incidentally, pizza is involved in this because I made another at the start of the week. I made another do-it-yourself Emo's pizza. I've still got some of that delicious Provel cheese in the freezer. But I went to the grocery store and I got mushrooms to put on this pizza. And Brian, I don't know where they grew these mushrooms. I think these were some of the special kind of mushrooms.
All right.
Because ever since I ate those mushrooms on that pizza, every day of this week I have watched some alleged wrestling program, and I have seen bizarre looking people wearing outrageous looking clothing in fluorescent colors while calling themselves by completely bizarre names and doing totally illogical things that human beings would normally not do. I blame the mushrooms. Or is it the wrestling? What do you think?
It's an interesting question because I think mushrooms would make NXT more enjoyable, but I don't think it would help with AEW. Now, acid and mushroom, a lot of people confuse the two and think like, oh, they're so similar. No, they're very different. It's a very different experience.
Well, thank you, Dr. Leary.
I think acid may be better for AEW and mushrooms. I actually think mushrooms and NXT sounds like a good mix right now. You see that girl in the pajama pants? If you're on mushrooms, that's incredible.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all of that. The pajamas and the schoolgirls and the German U-boat commanders. But first, folks, before we get into all that, I do need to bring up, before we go any further, that this coming week, Friday, January 28th, is the close of the trading card auction over at our friends at Heritage Auctions. The 1982 Wrestling All-Stars trading card set featuring my photography from the vault, from my collection, uncirculated, never before sold before. Got it straight from good old Norm Keitzer himself back in 1982. The bidding is underway. It has been spirited. It includes the Hulk Hogan rookie card, which graded a 7, and the Andre card, and so many other high-grade, the Bachwinkles and the Races of the world, and et cetera, and Dusty. That auction comes to a close on Friday, January 28th. If you go to jimcornette.com, there's a banner about the trading cards on the front page of my website. You can click on that, and it will take you straight to the site, to the listing itself at Heritage Auctions, where you can get the information, look at the pictures of some of the graded cards, and place a bid. But that closes up this Friday. And as I said, the bidding has been spirited, and now we're getting down to, as they say, nut-cutting time. Nut-cutting time.
Okay.
That's what they say, Brian, in the veterinary world. Also, this is a brand new announcement. We're doing it again. I've talked to Hotchkiss Featherbottom. The St. Valentine's Day Massa Cameos is coming up. That's right. If you want to get your sweetie, a kissin' or a cussin', either one, I'll either talk nice about them or I'll cuss them out, tell them what's wrong with them, and how they can modify their behavior. But for Valentine's Day, it's obviously me and Valentine's Day. I'm like Cupid. I'm a perfect fit. I'm not going to do these in a diaper. Unfortunately, I will be dressed. But Sunday, February 6th at noon Eastern, the cameos will go on sale. You can go to the website, jimcornette.com, and click on the Cameo button on the front page, and it'll take you right there. And we are going to leave them on sale as long as we can until we get as many as we can fill that week. And Hotchkiss has set out 2 days that week to come over and shoot videos. So cameos, the St. Valentine's Day Massa Cameos, Sunday, February 6th, noon Eastern, and they will be on sale as long as we can, but get in at the start to make sure you don't miss out. Brian, who are you going to do a cameo for Valentine's Day?
Nobody.
You're not going to do something for your children? You're not going to do something for your lovely better half who has endured this schlag across the Arctic tundra?
Are you saying I should buy them a cameo, or actually I film one of myself?
I think you should film one and give it to them and tell them what they mean to you.
I think they've seen enough of me, quite frankly.
Actually, that's the story I've been hearing, too, from other quarters. And also, there's big news. We've been teasing this, but the meeting has taken place with the fine folks at Ship Station. They were a little off-put by Fanny's missing arm, Fanny Featherbottom, obviously. She sat in on the thing. But the store at JimCornette.com, the Cornette's Collectibles store, will be opening on Saturday, February the 12th. We're not going to advertise a specific time, folks. We're not trying to cause any issue here, but the store will be back open. We're going to start with a limited menu. There are not going to be any action figures. We still have from the last sale. We have about 300 and something the Christmas variants that we had not sold when we closed down last time because we got swamped with all kinds of orders for everything. We're not putting those up right away because we want to ease into this. But we are going to feature the T-shirts because the people have been waiting for the T-shirts. Pictures and Cult of Cornette membership certificates, so 8x10 color pictures, autographed. DVDs, and autographed copies of Behind the Curtain. And the only change we're making on this, the personalization will not be available on the DVDs. There's not a lot of room anyway. I'm still going to autograph them, but we're trying to get an assembly line procedure going here where we can fulfill people's wishes in a timely manner. So I'll still be signing everything personally, but old Hotchkiss and Fanny and Felcher Featherbottom will be doing the sorcery on the internet with printing out the address labels and telling my new smart website how to send confirmation emails to the customers so they'll know their tracking numbers and that their package is on the way and all that witchcraft that I haven't been able to do because I didn't know how to do it and couldn't figure it out because I would have killed somebody. But yes, so anyway, that's Saturday, February 12th. More on that as we get started. And then the Christmas variant figures we will be putting up sometime probably by March once we get the initial thing up and running. And then we've got some exciting action figure news in the future. Maybe we'll be able to reveal this by next month on some other things that are happening. But we're trying to prevent log jams with this by starting out with the basic products because the last time when we opened the new site and we'd been down so long, people just wanted to get a fucking T-shirt. I don't blame them, but they had to jump in the middle of all the action figure chaos. And so it took some people, fucking 2 months to get a T-shirt or whatever. So with the basic products on sale all the time, the hope is that some of that will be alleviated and then they can get their items in a timely manner, and there'll still probably be a backup of some description on action figures because I'm signing those personally, and they take up a lot of fucking room. There's only so many you can do in such and such time. But we hope to speed this process up for the customers. Brian, it's just another charitable thing that we're doing for the people out there to make their lives easier and better for everybody.
That's very nice. If there's anything you're known for, it's your charitable activities, and here's another one that benefits you and them.
Well, there you go. All right, speaking of charitably, let's do some talking to the people out there, some shout-outs. Hold on. Okay, I've still been going through emails. We've been doing this for the past few weeks on the program, but I was so far behind. But I wanted to recognize more of the listeners. This is from, oh gosh, I don't know how to pronounce this first name. I hope it's Tomasa. Tomasa is 53 and lives in Middlesboro, Kentucky, down in Bell County. But anyway, she says, I just wanted you to know personally from me what listening to you has meant to me. I've almost died twice, been in 2 comas, a silly fall with the dog that broke my femur, hip, and pelvis in May. And listening to you is like listening to an old friend. When I was completely unresponding to anyone, my son put your podcasts on a loop. He said he cried when about 2 hours later he heard me laughing and I was sitting up in bed. That was this past Christmas Eve. So I performed, Brian, a Christmas miracle. Anyway, needless to say, I've spent every day since balls to the wall to get better. And asked him why your podcast, and he said, I always hear you laughing, and you're always telling me something new you heard on it. And so I didn't have the heart to tell my son I'd already listened to all of them. But anyway, thank you, Tomasa. Not Champa, by the way.
Same spelling? Well, I mean, with an A at the end?
Not really. It's close, but you can't vary there. There's no Q's in Tomasa, so it's close. Nice little slurp of Sprite. I'm like a savage. I'm on the 2 liters.
Like a savage.
Anyway, this is straighten up now. This is Joshua. And Joshua says, this year was the absolute shits. I had to put my 64-year-old mother in a nursing home because she has vascular dementia. It was a long and brutal process that broke me mentally, emotionally, and physically, so bad that I had to get a lawyer involved. And long story short, I was able to get my mother the help that she needed, which was no easy task, but I had to take a leave of absence from my employer. And the week I put my mother in a nursing home, I was sent an overnight letter of termination from my employer.
Oh, geez.
Must have worked for the WWE. And Joshua goes on to say, I've never even received a phone call from upper management, probably because they knew what was going on behind the scenes. It made me mad at first, but now I'm in a much better place. And here's hoping we all have a better year in 2022. Joshua from Oxford, Mississippi, not Starkville. So, Joshua, we do hope you have it. And fuck those guys, right?
That's right. Fuck those guys.
Must have been Spectrum. David wrote a brief email. Jim and Brian, I just wanted to thank you for your podcast. The one bright spot in my week is when new episodes come out because I know I'll be able to forget real life for a while. Here's a brief summary of the lowlights since 2017. In 2017, his wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. In 2018, they lost everything they owned in the Paradise, California wildfire.
Oh, my God.
Which also destroyed the whole town. In 2019, while still in a hotel after the fire, his mother passed away. In 2020, prior to COVID, his father passed away. And in 2021, his stepson went missing and was suffering from mental illness. But he says, with all that going on, I take great comfort in the laughter that you both bring to me. Brian, we need to shut this show down now because we're not that good. I feel too much pressure.
Yeah, where's this laughter this guy's talking about?
I'm like, Jesus. I'm sorry about, we got to try to do better here. How about this one? Now, here's the one that'll warm the cockles of your heart. Hold on, I got to take another slurp.
Oh, awful.
From Chris. Mr. Cornette, I've been a loyal listener and wanted to share a story I believe you'll like since you were so close to Bobby Eaton, because Bobby was solely responsible for making me a wrestling fan. When I was 5 years old, I lived in an apartment on O'Shaughnessy Avenue in Huntsville, Alabama. There was a man who would come home and sit on the steps with me and tell me all about his wrestling matches. I had no idea what he was talking about, but he made it so interesting, and he was a very nice person. So a few years later, I was watching wrestling on TV, and my mother walked by and asked me if I knew who that was. I said, sure, that's the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express. She said, yes, but do you know who that is, Beautiful Bobby? She said, that was our neighbor when we lived in Huntsville. He was the one who spent all that time with you and sparked your interest in wrestling. So Chris says, I just wanted you to know from someone else how great a person he was, knowing how busy his schedule was, and he still made time for a 5-year-old when he came home when he could be resting. So Bob Eaton out making 5-year-olds wrestling, and he was visiting his mother, Dorothy. He would always, whenever he was in Huntsville, even when he, went on the road. So I don't know what time period this was exactly. He could have still been living there. It could have been when he first started, but.
You surprised by a story like that, or not surprised at all?
But no, not surprised at all. It was just cool that the actual person is still around and knows what we're doing all these years later to, email us and tell us about it. But, and also, and this was a 2-page email. Here's his name, Ian. Ian wrote a big, long email, and it was about the Raleigh AEW tapings, last week or whenever. But just one paragraph that he wrote, especially, I had to share this with you. Between the Dynamite and the Rampage tapings, apparently Tony Khan comes out and, does promo. He's trying to keep people busy while they're switching stuff around. And I think they show some video clips on the screen or whatever. But in this instance, Tony Khan came out and said AEW always keeps their promises to fans. So he brought out Hook while some people moved stuff around on stage. Hook walked out and just stood there for less than a minute while Tony Khan said over and over that AEW loves their fans and gives them what they want. Hook then left, and it was the only time he was seen all night.
No, come on, really?
That's what this guy says. He was there. He said they wanted to see Hook, and they had signs for Hook. So Tony comes out and says, well, we're going to give you what you want. And Hook comes out and stands on the stage, doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything, and then walks back. And there was Hook. That just tickled me.
I guess they had to get a women's match on the show that night. A multi-person women's match.
Well, multiples. But folks, I'll tell you what, before we go any further, because we got a long way to go and a short time to get there on this program today, I will tell you this, that if you are like all of us and you want to see more of Hook or just any other wrestler that you start liking that you see on AEW television, just when they get the hook in your mouth, so to speak, you're never going to see these people again. They disappear. They go into federal witness protection program. We've seen it countless times. They just start getting interesting and then poof, they're gone. Well, now what you can do, folks, is you can get a world-class artist to make a painting of them so you can hang on the wall so when they're never seen on television again, you can still remember how great they were and how much you wanted to see more of them. I'm talking about our friends, Brian, of course you know this, at Paint Your Life. Making memories, if they're old memories or new memories. A lot of people are going out and about in the world these days now, even though there's still a pandemic. They're trying to make new memories. Hopefully it won't be Granny on a fucking ventilator. But if you're making new memories or you've got old memories that you want to dress up, the people at Paint Your Life can do it. They can take any photograph, whether it be a person in your family or a friend or an ex-loved one or a cherished pet or a vacation spot or a beautiful sunrise or anything like that. Stuff that'll tickle the cockles of your taint and warm the succulent ventricles in your heart. They can take any of those photographs and turn them into a quality professional hand-painted portrait. Or they can combine pictures of people and places into one painting. I love that alliteration. So you can have people from different generations in the same place. I mean, you can have all kinds of varieties of dogs playing poker, even breeds that wouldn't really get along if they were there posing for the painting right in person. The Dalmatian might eat the goddamn Shih Tzu. But anyway, you can choose from Paint Your Life's team of world-class artists and work with them until every detail is perfect. They've got a user-friendly platform. You get right up on that platform and people are friendly to you. They say, hey, how are you? Can we get you a drink, cold water, anything? And you order the custom-made hand-painted. It's a user-friendly platform. Once you get on that platform, everybody's friendly while you're using it. And you can order this custom-made hand-painted portrait in less than 5 minutes, except if you drone on, in which case they'll talk to you and humor you, but it'll take longer. And you can get the portrait in as little as 2 weeks. So it's a great birthday gift or anniversary gift or wedding gift or just a for the fuck of it gift. It's meaningful, Brian. It's personal. It can be cherished forever. It can be put on a wall. And then if you move, you don't have to leave it in the house. You can take this thing off the wall and take it with you. That's another feature that these paintings from Paint Your Life have. They're portable. So, folks, right now, at paintyourlife.com, there's no risk. If you don't love the final painting, your money is refunded, guaranteed. And as Brian Last has told me in the past, they will not then confiscate the person in your family that the painting was of.
You're doing this again? Come on.
Well, no, you've told me they wouldn't do that. I thought if you wanted your money back for the painting, then you had to give them something like your family member the painting was of. But you tell me that no, you can keep everything. So who am I to argue with you?
For the record, Paint Your Life, a wonderful service and a tremendous sponsor here on the show, is a great service that you tell them what they want, they supply it to you. Once again, no hostages. There's no ransom. There's none of this other stuff that you decided to.
Not even detaining. They don't even detain people for a brief period of time. You can move about freely.
There's no detention. Paint Your Life. Use Paint Your Life. I don't know what else you want me to say.
Right now, I'm trying. Right now is a limited time offer. You can get 20% off your painting. You can even pick which 20%. You can take it off the top, bottom, the sides, whatever. It'll look a little odd. It'll look just a little odd when it's on the wall and there's 20% of it's missing, but nevertheless, you can get 20% off of your painting right now. That's right. 20% off is what he said. And free shipping. Free shipping. You got that going for you. To get this special offer, text the word DRIVE, DRIVE, to 64,000. That's DRIVE. To 64,000, get 20% off and free shipping. And it doesn't even cost as much to ship the thing when 20% of it's missing, but they'll still pay it for you. Celebrate the moments that matter most. Brian, terms apply. Available at paintyourlife.com/terms.
Paint Your Life. Once again, want to just bring up a wonderful company and a big supporter of the show. You should support them. It's a wonderful gift for anyone in your family or even yourself.
They were with us for a long time there, weren't they?
I like them. Please stay, Paint Your Life. We like you.
Hey, here's somebody else that you might want him to stay, but he's got to go. Hello, I must be going. You say goodbye and I say hello. It's been announced from the horse's mouth himself, Lio Rush is a free agent come February. What did he do? Sign a 6-week contract with AEW? How long was he there?
That's what I was going to say. And I'm just looking. He debuted. Remember, he originally debuted last year. It was Double or Nothing. Is that May? I think it was May. And then he disappeared. And then he came back a few months ago. Unless Tony's giving out 5-month contracts.
He debuted and then retired from wrestling, remember?
That's right.
Because after he left the WWF, then he was a free agent at the end of 2020. Then I think he retired, and then he came back and as a surprise in AEW, and then he retired again, and then he came back a couple months ago, and then he jumped right in with both feet on old Big Swole's message to Tony Khan. And since nobody was speaking to him when the grown folks were talking, and his input was not requested by any of these parties, apparently he did some backpedaling with what he had said to Tony Khan when he issued a very flowery and well-written conciliatory statement on the internet about how that he and Tony had a wonderful talk they had, Brian?
It was Tony and Mega, actually. I think
wonderful talk with them. Yeah, and about 10 days later, he announces he'll be a free agent next month.
You know, a couple of things I want to say before you say whatever you're going to say about Lio Rush. One, I once again reiterate, he's an incredibly entertaining guy. He's one of my favorite guys, actually. When I think about whenever he's actually on, I enjoy his work because he doesn't insult me. He didn't do that kicking out of the powerbomb or whatever on national TV. That was on some small indie show. On national TV, he wrestles like a small guy. I like him. I like his promos. I like his personality. And every time I get into him, he disappears or he gets fired or retires or goes home. Look, the issues with AEW in terms of structure and diversity, there's a real discussion that needs to be had about that. But you can't be just calling out your fucking boss on Twitter like that. What rational human being would do that? No one. So we don't know if that played a part. We all assume that it played a part in him leaving AEW. They've already moved.
Now, it could be completely coincidental.
It could be. It could be his music career is picking up. We really don't know.
It could be his 72-day contract that he had just signed when he was LBO Rush. Maybe that just expired. And they decided not to renew him after that.
And they just moved Dante Martin on to something else and other people. And Jay Lethal has come in and kind of he was just gone. Just one day he's off TV.
No. Jay Lethal's gone again. Dante's got more big brothers now. Or little brothers, or which I don't know what the age discrepancy is, but he's moved on. He's got another band of brothers now. Jay's not taking up for him anymore.
Serious question, and you can say whatever you want. Does anyone hire Lio Rush again on a national stage?
Well, no, I think this is part of a grand scheme because like you said, you said every time I see Lio Rush, I'm entertained by Lio Rush. And this, I think, is part of, and he's probably so much farther ahead of us that I've just stumbled onto his secret by accident, and nobody's been able to pick up on this. He is purposely going to every single wrestling television program that he possibly can and appear on it for the briefest period of time just to tease people like you, Brian. Oh, well, I'd like to see more of this little munchkin. And then he leaves and he goes to the next show. Once he has made the complete circuit of every single wrestling show on television, and he's appeared on each one of them 3 times, then the payoff comes when he'll now be able to go door to door in any city in America, knock on the door, and charge people money to come into their living room and entertain them in person. He's a genius.
I may take him up on that offer. I gotta say, I'm serious. Every time I watch him in NXT, they had the thing with him and Garza, and I enjoyed the matches and I enjoyed the program, and I felt Lio Rush, whatever you want to say, he's always serious as Lio Rush when he's doing a promo, and then this keeps happening, and I'm not going to watch Impact to see Lio Rush, and who knows what Ring of Honor is in the future, and there really aren't too many other options, and I can't see him lasting anywhere, and he's burned the bridge with WWE. They're going to give him another shot. I don't think he had an easy time there. I think it was start, stop, because there were lots of problems. AEW is the easiest place in the world to work. It's the easiest place in the world to work. Guys are happy. Maybe not with the way they're being used on TV, but in general, the locker room is happy. If you can't coexist there, where are you going to coexist?
I think in your living room. For a small cash fee, or anybody else's. Like I said, door to door across America.
Lio Rush versus Virgil. Lio Rush versus Virgil. Book it.
Yeah, but there'll be an argument about the finish.
Breadsticks.
But meanwhile, Brian, it's like it's the opposite side of the same coin. Is that how they say it? One guy had a job that he probably wanted to keep, and instead he was urged to leave it. And the other guy has a job he wants to leave, and he's being forced to keep it. Remember we were talking about Mustafa Ali asking for his release? Was that even a week ago? All these things that have gone on.
That was on the Drive
Goes program.
Yeah, Monday we recorded that.
Oh my God, wasn't even a week ago. And no, it had to be last week on The Experience, didn't it? Certainly,
no, it was just this week, Monday.
This quick. These things keep happening so quickly. And you said, well, Jim, what do you think's next for Mustafa Ali? And I said, I'm not convinced he's going anywhere. And I gave my reasoning, and I've heard actual people who were in the positions of being able to release people or not in the past for that company say the exact same thing. They don't want to set a precedent that everybody, I'm pissed off and got up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, whether right or wrong. A lot of these people, the way they're being used, rightfully they should be upset, but a lot of these people's talent, they ought to be happy that somebody's willing to fucking look sideways at them. Nevertheless, they don't want people to just be able to come up and say, I want to leave. And, okay, well, here you go. Well, then what good are the contracts? The whole idea of the contracts are to engage in a totally one-sided relationship where the WWE has all the fucking pull and the talent has none. That's the whole idea of their contracts. So if somebody says, I'm not happy and I want to be free to jump on the Mayflower and sail across the ocean to pursue a life of religious freedom, then they're probably going to say, fuck you. Because if we let you go, then we got to let Joe and Bill and Frank and Tom, and there's Betty and Betty Lou and Thelma. And it becomes, then their contracts, they have no power. So I didn't think they were going to let a guy go just because he publicly asked for it. Like, I have a song I want to sing and I want to sing it. That's not a very good reason.
You know, the thing, though, about this that's a little different, and I just looked this up to make sure I had this correct, because I thought I saw this the other day. He's asking for his release now, here in January. He has not been on any WWE programming since losing to Drew McIntyre on SmackDown October 29th. So they're not putting him on TV.
Right.
We don't know what opportunities in terms of making money he has right now. He's just under contract with a downside guarantee.
Well, hold on now. There's people cleaning out septic tanks. So so let's come back to reality here for a second. They've reported that apparently Vince pitched what he wanted Mustafa Ali to do, and Mustafa Ali was so, I don't know what the word is because I don't know what the idea was, but he was either enraged, offended, shocked. There was a heated argument between him and Vince because obviously he was taking the I'm not going to do that shit side of things.
Nobody wants to be told they're going to be a German U-boat captain.
Well, hold on now. No, they weren't going to give a prize gimmick like that to old Mustafa Ali. They had bigger fish to put to hang that one around. But here's the thing. We've talked about Vince's Jedi mind tricks and his ability to make the greatest, biggest stars, the most self-absorbed people in some cases, the most egotistical or self-centered people in some cases, some of the people who are smart to the workings of the wrestling business and wouldn't be necessarily easy to con or manipulate. He's been working Jedi mind tricks on those people for 40 years. And all of a sudden, he can't talk Mustafa Ali into doing what he wants him to do. More than anything about this guy or this story, that tells you that Vince has lost what faculty he had to do the Jedi mind tricks, and or he's lost at whatever era, whether it was the 80s or the 90s or even the early 2000s when, WrestleMania went to the stadiums and the publicly traded company and Vince is now a billionaire. He had some intimidation factor. I don't even know what all the words to describe it. With some people, they were intimidated by Vince. With some people, they respected Vince. With some people, they were afraid of Vince. I mean, they didn't think Vince was going to climb in their goddamn bedroom window at night and fucking conk them on the head with a blunt instrument, but they were afraid that he would get mad at them or look disfavorably on them, not only because it would affect their money, but also because, I mean, if anybody's ever played organized school sports, had a domineering coach, or, that kind of relationship with their parent or whatever, he was a guy you didn't want to piss off or let down, even financial aspect away from it. He carried that kind of gravitas with the people in the company that worked for him. Am I explaining this in any way correctly, Brian Last?
I think so.
It wasn't just that, oh shit, we don't want to get in trouble with the teacher. You wanted a lot of guys, like I said, either were intimidated or scared or just respected him or wanted to be in good or whatever, ingratiate themselves, not just, financially, but because he was the fucking general, he was the captain, he was the leader, he was the coach, whatever. And now he can't talk Mustafa Ali, let's face it, is a mid-card guy. He can't talk him into doing shit when he used to be fucking refereeing between Michaels and Hart and Undertaker and this guy and that and whatever. It's holy shit. That says more than anything about the Mustafa Ali story. I mean, free Ali, right? Attica. But he's not going to be the only one that asks for his release. and doesn't get it unless, as I said in last week's clip, they really want him. Oh, thank God he finally asked. Get the fuck rid of him. That's just me.
Jim, in all your time around Vince, we've talked in the past about these Jedi mind tricks. Did he know that he had that reputation? Was he confident in his ability to talk guys into stuff? And did you see any times where it didn't work, how he would react to that?
Well, multi-part question. I don't know if he was aware of the reputation, because to ask him if he was aware of the reputation would have stooged him off to the thing if he didn't know about it. And who wants to be the one to do that? But he was quite confident in his ability to talk anybody into anything, because however he saw it was the way that he could logically present it to someone and bend their mind to his will. So he knew he could do it, but I don't know if he knew that everybody, behind his back was like, oh shit, what the fuck happened? I wanted to do this and he made me do that.
So we don't know exactly what the conversation with Mustafa Ali and Vince was, but we've seen reports about it. Moxley in his book was pretty explicit about Vince being out of his mind. And these meetings kind of going nowhere, where he insists really bad things are good shit. I mean, that's when all of a sudden people started jumping on the good shit moniker a little while back. There are certain guys that seem to still be drinking the Kool-Aid that are on that main roster. But the word coming out more and more is about Vince just being completely out of step. It could be two things. It could be he's out of step with things that are good. It could also be he's just out of step with a younger generation. That's a natural thing for an executive in their mid to late 70s. What do you think?
No. Because, I'm not saying that he's got his finger on the pulse of the current, rap hits, the hip-hop sters or whatever. The popular music of these days, whatever's top of the pops, as Adrian Street might say. I'm not saying that, but no, he's lost his commandeering presence. He's lost, the nearest thing I can think is that especially when he put together, the team that's going to, in the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars, is going to take down Ted Turner, the evil billionaire, his empire, whatever. It was like he was the general of the army, or he was the captain of the team, or he was the leader. And all the guys looked at him like that, whether they liked him or they didn't, whether they were mad at him or not because of something that he had personally, something he'd said or done, or that he didn't see their greatness or wasn't using them right or whatever. I'm not saying everybody loved him, but he was the guy. He was the boss. He was the leader. He commanded respect. You believed in the shit that he was doing, even the shit that bombed. You'd roll your eyes at, but then you'd turn around but it's fucking Vince. It's Vince McMahon. His whole aura and being had that cachet. Nobody was thinking, yeah, fucking Vince has lost it. Nobody's thinking he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to make a star. He doesn't know how to get people over. Nobody said any of the things about him, even behind his back, that they're saying now. He's lost the command of the troops. And it's because of his age. It's not being out of touch with popular music or whatever and dressing up we got another Japanese schoolgirl on television. We'll get into that. At least this time it's for Vince's company instead of the other one. But that's not indicative of, just a guy losing touch with or being out of touch with young people. He's not following his own rules of how to make stars anymore. He's not got everybody behind him that they will walk across hell with gasoline britches on him, on his team, through hell or high water, whether he's right or wrong, which they would before, because they can see that he's not that guy anymore. And it's sad. But that's the thing. It's not being out of touch with popular culture. He's not Vince anymore. And he's not the powerful figure that these guys want to follow, whether he's right or wrong anymore. And he was for a while. And you know, maybe they should have made a handoff to Triple H before they gave him fucking heart issues with all of the stress and whatever. Because, you know, again, 20 years ago or 25 years ago, when there weren't even as many places or any places to go to make as much money as you could possibly make working for Vince, every once in a while you had one person that was pissed off and wanted to leave, but most of them didn't want to leave there. They wanted to be used better in that place. But leaving was a bridge they didn't want to cross, except for certain situations. They just wanted to climb the ladder in that company. Now, a lot of those guys can't wait to just get the fuck out of there. And that's a drastic change in attitude. Instead of, I want to be on top of this place, I want to put this place in the rearview mirror.
It's weird, the idea that the industry leader is a place that people go to work knowing that they're more than likely going to be incredibly disappointed and unhappy, even if they make a lot of money, and creatively unfulfilled in a lot of cases.
Well, and part of it is because they're taking this show business aspect that this is now, you know, I've made the joke for years, Holiday on Ice in a wrestling ring or Cirque du Soleil, but it's a show with an interchangeable cast. Most people, you don't even really know who the fuck they are as individuals. They just do cool visual things. And then you've got a couple of names on when Peggy Fleming was the star of Holiday on Ice or whatever. You got a couple of names, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and the rest of it is just, oh, here's entertainment. So a lot of the guys that might have wanted to go there before because some guys are smart enough to know that the skill set or the talents or the appearance or whatever they've got, they can be successful in wrestling in some fashion, but they're never going to be in a Roman Reigns spot, right? Or a Brock Lesnar spot or whatever. So, but at the same time, they could get over and be used better than a lot of people in the pack if all things were equal and it was still a wrestling business. Well, now they're seeing that it doesn't matter how good I am unless I look like, or they decide I look like Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar or whatever. I'm just going to be one of the interchangeable guys. So better to go somewhere else and try to get over first. Instead of, as Mick Foley said, being unsure about putting my career in the hands of Vince McMahon and the WWE, which used to be 30 years ago what everybody wanted to do, and that's what everybody's scared of. So there you go.
And once you lose that commanding presence, he's not going to get it back. It's done.
No, I don't think, unless they come up with, you know, the shit that the QAnon believers believe in, that you really can drink baby blood and rejuvenate yourself like a fucking Twilight Zone episode. Short of that, Vince is 78 years old or whatever he is, and it's not biologically feasible, apparently, that he can be the presence to these people that he once was.
And the guy that was set up for it, Triple H, it's just not going to happen now.
No, and he was a guy that not only had the presence because he was an in-ring star, he was a top name, he's gone through everything, he was a student of the business, he knows how to talk to wrestlers, but he wasn't a pushover. He wasn't going to be like Tony Khan, oh, do anything you want, I'm just so happy. You know, but he would have been the perfect bridge between the business world and the wrestling world because he could coexist in both. But that ain't going to happen because the guy from the entertainment world is going to get this thing sold to, you know, into a series of theme parks or whatever. So,
well, plus the health concerns. And, you know, I just read, and I'm sure we'll talk about on the drive-thru, I just read some quotes from a Scott Taylor interview just about the culture and the environment at NXT when Triple H was there and how it immediately changed when he was gone, and then it got really bad. He was the guy. He was the perfect guy for the role, and I just don't think it's going to happen now.
No. And I mean, I'm wondering, is this a serious health issue, or is this just, he's like, well, you know, I'll just lay low because what am I going to say to anybody?
Yeah, plus it's probably a really frustrating experience for him now.
Yeah. But, I've seen a lot of people going, well, with his health issues, now he won't be. It looks like he wasn't going to be the one to begin with. And so now the health issues may be a graceful way for him to just stay out of the spotlight. But I'm wondering if they're severe or if he's just saying, like, okay, I'll be over here, you assholes. I'm going to put my feet up.
He's pulling the Fred Sanford whenever they call him. Hey, come over for dinner. Oh, my heart.
Yeah. I'm coming, Stephanie. This is the big one, Stephanie.
Can I send Grady? I'll stay here.
I'm coming to join you, Linda.
Linda.
Not Elizabeth, but I'm coming to join you, Elizabeth, but I'm coming to join you, Linda, down there in Florida.
In Florida? That's what I said.
Get away from the old man. All right, we've gone about as long as we can without delving into this. Brian, I'm performing this service for you. Like I said, I've monitored the wrestling of the past week that's been televised while you were betwixt and between. And there was wrestling on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Friday night, which means Thursday was my favorite day this week. I've jokingly referred to mushrooms. I don't know what the fuck that I'm watching half the time on any of these shows, or who could conceivably think it's a good idea to have people do the things they're doing. But we will briefly go over the highlights and the lowlights. Some of this stuff doesn't deserve detail. Did you catch anything from Raw? Any clips of the multi-hour extravaganza on Monday night?
You know what? I don't think I saw any Raw. I don't even think I've heard anything that was on Raw this week. I've heard about other shows, NXT, AEW. I've seen AEW, but I didn't hear too much about Raw.
Well, there was good reason, and then a couple of things. It's a tragedy that you didn't hear about, and I'm going to point people's attention to those. But Becky Lynch was first out. And okay, I like old big-time Becky Lynch's music. She looks like a star. She looks like a heel. She does a good promo. She's got the attitude. She calls herself the Van Goat. And wasn't it just a couple of years ago that she was one of the, if not the most popular star in the business, male or female? Had all the buzz.
That is correct. Yes.
Well, she came out and she looked like a star and she had all the buzz. And then she started talking about Dewdrop. And here comes Dewdrop. Hey, hey, hey. I'm not saying that this girl, I'm sure she's a nice girl. I'm not saying she should quit the whole business, but she doesn't look like a main event star. And once that's where they've lost the people. Even if you've got somebody that's really over, when you just indiscriminately decide, okay, we're going to let everybody on the card interact with our biggest stars, people are going, I like Becky, but fucking Dewdrop? It looks like an indie. And then they interacted for a while, and then here came Bianca Belair. And she, again, no matter what the instance, if she just won the lottery, she comes out smiling and skipping. If the Hindenburg has just crashed on her house, she comes out smiling and skipping.
Come on.
And she's smiling and skipping and doing her Jerry Springer show delivery, being bitchy to both Dewdrop and Becky Lynch. And she officially enters the Rumble, Brian, by saying, and I quote, this is a quote from Bianca Belair: if I got to throw over every 29 woman over this top rope to win it all, that's what I'm going to do.
All right. Good luck with that.
But then Liv Morgan comes out because she's in the Rumble too. And I wrote, how long can this go? Not the limbo, how low can you go, but how long can this go? She's heelish, but she's knocking Bianca. And then wait a minute, now they've revealed they're going to have a match. So now we have awkward partners in Dewdrop and Becky Lynch who are mad at each other against Bianca and Liv Morgan who ain't happy with each other. And basically, in the end, Doudrop beat up everybody, including Becky Lynch. And that was the first 20 minutes of the show. They followed that with, everybody grew up thinking Piper's Pit was this massive, long-running talk show, these 20-minute segments, because they remember in their minds this was so great 35 years ago, right? So now, still in the WWE, everybody has an interview segment where they have chairs or they have tables or they have a set or a couch or whatever the fuck. In this case, Kevin Owens has the Kevin Owens show. And by the way, you remember, Brian, that Roddy Piper had Piper's Pit. There was 3-minute segments on a syndicated television, and they got the point across, and it was either get Piper over or later on to get somebody else's issue over with him being the instigator in the thing. Well, now they've just popped these out every time they want to start something. Oh, we'll have a talk show. So Kevin Owens has the KO show, and he brings Seth Rollins out. And Damian Priest comes out and tells them both off. And then we have a match with Damian Priest against Kevin Owens. And I'm skipping over a lot of this, folks, because even though I like a lot of these people, in this environment and the way that they're presented and the things that they're asked to do and say, it's much less interesting than it sounds when I'm reading it. And Damian Priest is another guy in NXT. We said, boy, he looks great. He has a man's voice. He's good size. He's in shape. His work style is different. It catches your eye. He seemed to be able to be serious, and he still looks great. He's got nice gear. He's in great shape and does the promo. But they only had the barest bit of a match here, because in the WWE, the matches are the least important thing behind not only the promos. I can't even say promos. They're not doing wrestling promos. They're doing dramatic skits and miniature plays. And once you get through those, as well as the interminable entrances, they end up having 4-minute matches. So they had a bit of a match. Owens got some heat. Damian Priest bowed up and fought back, and Owens bailed out to the floor, and Priest followed and got super kicked. And then Owens came off with a splash off the apron onto the floor. Looked like it killed him as well as Damian Priest. They go to the break. When they came back, Priest is already making his comeback 3 minutes later from that deadly move. And then they do some shit, boom, 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 and a couple of 2 counts, and they're trying. They had so little time, it wasn't a match. It was all finish after the break. And then finally, Owens went down selling his leg. The referee called for the trainer. Priest walks over to look, and Owens jumps up and hits a stunner, 1, 2, 3. He was faking. He was playing possum. Here you go. The Alpha Academy had their graduation ceremony. Otis and Gable had bright red gowns on. Actually, it was more like orange prisoner on the side of the road type of colors. And then Matt Riddle comes out in a green, blue, yellow, and orange gown and gave a speech. But Orton jumped in the ring and RKO'd Gable, and they stole the cap and gowns, the graduation cap and gowns from Alpha Academy. This is where I thought the mushrooms are kicking in. I look like Woody Harrelson in that scene from The People Against Larry Flint in the courtroom. So then I was about to give up, and here came Vince and Austin Theory in the fucking office. And I was, oh boy. I was watching TV here, so I didn't have the closed captioning on YouTube. I don't know if they figured Vince out this time, but I can't tell if Austin Theory can talk or not with this material and the way he's being produced. It's so goofy. But Vince was telling him there is no half victory, because he'd said, well, last time, I didn't beat Finn Balor, but I beat him up afterwards. Kind of like a half victory. There is no half victory. And he wants Austin Theory to beat Finn Balor tonight and then beat him up afterwards, or Vince himself is going to beat Austin Theory up. And then Vince starts telling him what he's going to do to him. I'm going to beat you up and break your nose. I'm going to spread your teeth on the other side of your face. And, you'll be covered in blood and snot and broken teeth. And then I'm going to take a selfie of you and send it to your mother. And this, again, as we just talked about, for Vince McMahon, for Mr. McMahon from 20 years ago, he could have carried this off. You would have believed that he was going to do it. He would have been standing up at full height, looking down his nose at somebody with that fucking growl that he used to have, that booming voice. And you might have believed it, but now he's 78 years old or whatever, and he's mumbling and he's talking across the desk at this guy that's trying to act horrified and scared that this guy's going to beat him up. It sounds about like, or it looked about like it sounds. However, they did then have Finn Balor against Austin Theory, Brian. And by the way, before when the bell rang for that match, we were already an hour and 20 minutes into this program. John Cena's only advantage over Austin Theory at this point in both of their careers was John Cena was a better promo. I saw them both at the same age, at the same time. I'm sure John Cena as a human being is probably more, or was more mature and developed than Austin Theory, because he was that way. He was a fucking mature, responsible person even then. But Austin Theory is better at everything else at this stage of the game than John Cena was. And I saw both of them. I mean, again, this was a WWE TV match. They didn't give them very much time. And the people, they don't react to a lot of these matches because they're trained not to. This is what they have to sit through to get to the fucking entrances and the dramatic plays. But everything in this match was great. There was no mistakes. But not only that, Theory did not look out of place working with Finn Balor. Again, the body language, the conditioning, the little things, the timing, the way he moves around, he's got it. And finally, he hit his finish on Finn Balor. Boom, 1, 2, 3. They know how to get people over, even if they don't give them the matches. They can call the finishes. And then he got on him after that and gave him another finish, but there was no bell. The referee had disappeared. No referees, no bell. It was sports entertainment heat. But he got heat on him and then took a selfie and left. So again, and that was flat. A selfie and leave. And the guy, there should have been people out there bullshit over what he had done and people trying to pull him off the guy and bell ringing and some chaos, but he takes a selfie of poor Finn Balor and leaves. But again, Theory is almost flawless. But if I say flawless Austin Theory, then Vince will nickname him Fat. And by the way, poor Rhea Ripley, we mentioned that Rhea Ripley not only is the hottest woman on the fucking entire roster, she's a goddamn brand new multi-million-dollar mainstream WrestleMania main event talent and should be an action movie star. Just that. But on this program, she came out and got berated by Carmella and Queen Zelina, then had the shit kicked out of her by her cosplaying delinquent little sister Nikki Ass, and was left laying broke, busted, and disgusted. So Rhea Ripley is now selling for little orphan Fanny on the program. Those mushrooms. And then he continues to be almost ready for television. What is he, 7 foot what? He's 300 and what, however many pounds? I didn't hear the announcers constantly talking about almost his height and weight, so they should be, because they had plenty of time. He faced off against Reggie. Brian, you remember Reggie, the 5'6" former Cirque du Soleil acrobat.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
Oh, God. So Omos is there at 7'6", and Reggie's 5'6". And right before the bell rings, a bunch of the 24/7 idiots ran through the ring, including in between Omos's legs. And that distracted him, so Reggie came off the top, but Omos caught him in a choke slam. Boom, 1, 2, 3. So thanks for coming.
This show sounds awful.
It's brutal. It has the stench of grisly death on it. Then Maurice, the Miz's wife.
All right.
Not Maurice Gibb of the Bee Gees, but Maurice Miz.
Two different spellings. That's Maurice, not Maurice.
All right. Well, Maurice was in the ring on Raw and called out Edge and Beth Phoenix for another long promo segment where Edge ended up beating up Miz, but Maurice had knocked out Beth Phoenix with her purse from behind. And then, as all good criminals do, Miz and Maurice left, but stopped in the back so that they could stand there and mug for the camera, opening the purse and pulling the brick out of the purse and showing it to everybody. Oh, God damn it. You don't. The heel drops the purse on the way out, and the referee picks it up and discovers it, or the babyface that is helping the person who's been knocked out picks it up and discovers that it had a brick in it. The criminals don't perpetrate the crime and then stand there stock still motionless in front of a television camera and show the weapon. Then they had an 8-man tag, the Street Profits and the Mysterios against Ziggler, Rude, Apollo Crews, and Commander Sneeze. Then, the best thing, honestly, on any wrestling television program from any company that I had to sit through this week followed that. And imagine this, it was about Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. Not only did they have Lashley, it was a Skype clip. It was a clip from Corey Graves' podcast. And it's video of him on Skype from, I guess, his house or wherever the fuck he was. And he's talking about Brock Lesnar, and it sounded real. It wasn't written. It was from a podcast. It was something that Bobby Lashley would say. He welcomes Brock being a beast. He welcomes Brock being the physical specimen that he is. That challenges him. He likes that because of his years in competition. He sounded natural. This sounded real. It put his opponent over and still got him over more than anything that they've had him saying in all this scripted bullshit. And then they go into a package. Brian, you got to see this. And anybody who didn't see it, look it up from Raw on what was the date? January 17th. Okay. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley package. It was a history package. It was with the NFL voiceover. May have been the NFL voiceover guy. They spent some money on this and a tremendous production editing job. They had Brock's history, historical footage all the way back of him in high school, college wrestling, the UFC. They told his story. They made him look unstoppable. And his exploits in WWE. Then they went and built Lashley, his amateur background, him being the Armed Forces champion, pictures of him in his uniform, clips of him in Bellator. This was the most sports-like thing they have ever done. I can't wait to see this match. If you want to see how to build a world title match or two real contenders, champion and challenger, this is it. It was perfect pro wrestling, and it was completely out of place on this program. Without the pro wrestling highlights, this package would have worked on a UFC broadcast. Everything about it, the guys, what they said, what they did, the whole 9 yards. You couldn't differentiate between these two guys are going to fight and these two guys are going to have a worked wrestling match by just watching this and listening to this. That's the idea. That's the goal. They can do this. They just don't. That was the most impressive thing that I've seen in a long time on a wrestling program, and it looked network quality.
And it was serious. I mean, it's like Punk and MJF. There's one segment you can rely on that show that won't really insult you. It'll get somewhere. It'll make you anticipate seeing something. And then the very next thing, I don't even know what was next on Raw, but with AEW, the next thing will just be so counterproductive. Like, maybe I don't need to see this.
You called it and also the main event is Bobby Lashley against Seth Rollins. We're going to get to that in a second. But after that package, guess what they followed it with?
I don't know.
Alexa Bliss in her psychiatrist's office.
I didn't know that.
Last week, she apparently flipped out and trashed the place and broke a bunch of stuff. And now she's back, and the doctor, who's obviously phony and not a real doctor, either an actor they've hired or maybe one of the indie guys can cut a decent promo. But he said, well, we're back and we have fewer breakable things this week, Alexa. And they did a B-movie scene. And I'll tell you what, Alexa Bliss would be great in a horror movie. She's a heck of a little actress. She's got all kinds of personality. She sucks on a wrestling program because she's big as a hiccup. And this is fucking obviously phony. And then, and she does more of her spooky shit. And then they come out of that and they send Lashley to the ring. They just said, for anybody who hadn't been paying attention for the last 20 years, they did a package that makes you think, wow, those guys are serious and they're athletes. And this is a legitimate thing you can look up to, this wrestling stuff. And then here's this fucking bleach blonde little girl that's possessed by the doll of the devil and with a fake psychiatrist. And then, and here's one of those badasses going to the ring. I get whiplash from snapping my head back and forth between the sublime and the ridiculous. So, after 2 hours and 45 minutes of this fucking program, where there was a decent little exhibition of wrestling between Austin Theory and Finn Balor, we finally get Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins after that package, and we might be interested in Lashley. And Rollins, he can work when they let him, but the bell rings, 15 minutes is on the air. And I'm not sure about booking this to begin with because Seth has Reigns at the Rumble. Lashley has Brock. What's the upside here? Lashley needs to be a beast, but Seth can't just be a Super Ball because he's going to be facing the fucking head of the table. So how are they going to work this? Because Seth has to make Lashley a monster, but has to somehow still be capable in the people's eyes of standing up to Roman Reigns. And within 2 minutes, they went to break. So I don't even know what the fuck. They come back from the break. They got less than 10 minutes on the air. And while they had gone to break with Rollins down, now Rollins is getting heat on Lashley's leg. And Lashley is having to sell down and mostly immobile. And I believe I've mentioned how that's the worst thing that you can do to a beast or a monster is have them down on their back and immobile. And he spent a long time in a leg hold. And this was either a clash of styles or just the wrong kind of match to have for Bobby Lashley. And if it was an issue, don't give him so much time. If you didn't want him to have any time, even though they were barely there to begin with, but on this fucking program, I'd have rather seen 5 minutes of action than Lashley selling a fucking leg lock on his back like a turtle. They just built him as a monster, and also he's a shooter and a Bellator fighter, and Seth Rollins is out wrestling him. So, and then he was immobile and a half crab for a while. And I zoned out for a bit. And then Lashley made a nice comeback, hit some of his big moves. They went back and forth. Rollins hit a pedigree for a 2 count. Lashley was way too vulnerable here in this with a big match with Brock coming up. And then Lashley, they go to the top rope, and of course, they've got to struggle, and Lashley belly to bellies Rollins off the top rope. Threw him halfway across the fucking ring. There was no cover. He belly to bellies Seth Rollins off the top rope halfway across the ring. Both of them lay there selling for 5 seconds. And then Shelton and Cedric come out and pull Lashley to the floor. And by the time they hit him the first time, the bell is ringing DQ. Oh, God damn it. A horrible finish out of nowhere. Then Shelton and Cedric are beating on Lashley in front of MVP, who has to stand there and yeah, hey, you boys, quit that. They buried him. I know he's a manager now, and also he's had some type of injury, which I believe is a real life injury, and they've worked it in, but he's got a cane in his hand, and he's a man, and he's an ex-wrestler. And he's having to watch Cedric and Shelton beat up Lashley while Rollins recuperates from the big belly to belly, the DQ out of nowhere. Then Lashley gets up. And Brian, do you remember what he did last week, the last time that they interrupted one of his matches? And he beat up both Cedric and Shelton single-handed on the floor and left them laying?
I remember you saying that, yeah.
He did it again. So again, they think, okay, we'll let Lashley be out-wrestled by a guy with, and I mean, let's face it, since they've called attention to Brock and Lashley's shooter backgrounds, Seth don't have one. So we're going to have Lashley, our shooter, out-wrestled. Then we're going to do a cheap DQ and a short match. Then he's going to kick the shit out of the guys he kicked the shit out of last week to get some of his heat back. But meanwhile, the Usos ran out and Rollins stood up to watch Lashley get the shit kicked out of him. And the Usos super kicked Rollins and knocked him out. So I wrote, what is happening here? And that's the way they went off the air on 3 hours of Raw. So now I want to see Lashley and Brock less than I did after the package.
Yeah, it's a show that doesn't make you ever want to tune in again. Because that happens every time I make the mistake of watching it again.
And like I said, the package was great and you get to see a little bit of theory, but I don't have the first goddamn clue what they're thinking with these guys. And everybody's just mad at everybody whenever it's convenient. And everybody runs in and just does whatever. And the matches are afterthoughts and the finishes these aren't dusty finishes or cheap finishes or fuck finishes. These are just lazy booking, get out of it finishes. I don't know what's going on, Brian.
Well, what do you feel like doing after watching it? Do you feel like exercising or shaving your balls? I'm not sure.
No, I don't know what's going on. So I stay in a state of confusion. But thankfully, we have a new sponsor here on the program that can keep me confused whenever I need it. Folks, our new sponsor, the fine friends that we've got at Iolo. That's IOLO.com. And you're saying to yourself, well, what the heck does that mean there, Jim? Well, I'll tell you. I don't know. All I do know is that they're asking a lot of questions here at Iolo. Did you know, Brian, that making your computer run faster can also make it more private and secure? Did you know? Were you aware of that?
Sounds logical, sure.
Well, that's because your computer is constantly being slowed down by unwanted apps, tracking apps that follow you around the web. Even viruses and malware can slow you down. Did you know that you had these people following you all around the web as you made your way around the web? There are people following you. They're wearing dark glasses and dark clothing, and they're trying to stay in the shadows, but they're tracking your ass. And that's not all, Brian. Social sites and criminals alike. Criminals, no good nicks, are cashing in on personal data that they collect from you on the internet. Hey, folks, I'm not trying to scare you. But this is fucking dangerous. But fortunately, there are simple steps that you can take to protect your privacy and identity. And I was not aware of this until the folks at Iolo told me. Usually, I would just change my name and use one of my 3 or 4 social security cards. But you can't just do something simple like that anymore. Brian, you gotta be high tech with this stuff. For example, what do you get when you type "why is my" into Google? What do you get?
What do you get when you type what?
Why is my? The words when you type "why is my" into Google, I usually get dick drooping,
What?
wife a bitch. But one of the first autocomplete options when you type "why is my" into Google, it'll come up "computer so slow," because that's the question that thousands of PC users ask every day. So it's fair to say that performance lag is a significant complaint. I'm sure you've had people complain about your performance lagging.
Never.
Well, thousands of PC users ask it every day. Type "why is my" into Google and see what you come up with. Speed up, secure, and simplify your digital life with Iolo's all-in-one Windows optimization, antivirus, and online privacy software suite called System Mechanic Ultimate Defense, or SMUD.
That sounds good for you.
That's what I need. I'm telling you what, because I need sped up, I need security, I need simplification. And if I knew what all this other shit was, I'd need it too. Folks, if you have multiple PCs at home, movie phones or move phones or movie phones, I don't know if that's a misprint or not. Hello, this is Movie Phone. What movie would you like to see? Tablets and smart TVs, if you have all of these things in your home, you probably are trying to manage all this yourself, and who wants to do that? Iolo's System Mechanic Ultimate Defense, SMUD, comes with a tech support plan that covers all of your internet-connected devices whenever you have a tech issue. You make one phone call and Iolo will fix your issue immediately, any time of the day or night. That's right, whenever you have a technical issue. Say your cable TV goes out, refrigerator's not running, the fucking microwave blinks out on you, and they'll fix it over the phone, right?
They will help you right away with your SMUD issues.
But it works for all the technical things in the house, right? All the things you plug in, I guess. Telephones. If you got a telegraph machine, they'll give you
I don't know about
all
that.
kinds of advice.
I don't know about that.
But anyway, folks, if you're concerned about your online footprint, and having your footprints or your fingerprints online can be very, very dangerous to your security. If you're concerned about computer vulnerabilities, you want the 24/7 live tech support located right here in the US of A. Well, then get SMUD from Iolo. That's System Mechanic Ultimate Defense. And right now, don't wait, because for one thing, companies like Dell, Best Buy, Lenovo, Yahoo, and Amazon resell SMUD because they trust its reputation. And if these people will sell SMUD out in the open, I'm not talking about dealing it out of a raincoat in a back alley somewhere, selling it right out in the open. You know it must be a quality product that does something that you're going to need. I don't know what, but you're going to fucking need this. So right now, don't wait. Go to Iolo, that's IOLO.com, and use the code JCE, and you will save 60% on SMUD and get 30 days of live tech support for free. Iolo, IOLO.com. Use the code JCE, 60% off the SMUD defense system and 30 days of live tech support. Will you need the tech support every single day? You'll have it there. They'll give it to you. But boy, you'd have to be a fucking bonehead to need it every day. Ask all your questions at one time. But they're still going to be nice to you, and they'll be there for you. What does the System Mechanic Ultimate Defense System do for you, Brian, you're asking?
Yeah.
I'm still wondering.
Me too.
It maximizes processor power, unleashes internet speed, increases drive speed, and protects against all kinds of shit and invasions and social sites and criminals alike. It'll protect you from everybody. We're not trying to scare you people. This shit's something to worry about.
All right, that's Iolo and Smud.
There it is. Where were we?
Tuesday. I think we got past Monday. We're on Tuesday now.
We got past Monday. All right. Well, Tuesday, NXT. Boy, howdy, what they've done to this program. They opened it up with LA Knight in the ring, and this was NXT for January 18th. And the guy can talk, and he's doing a promo, and he looks good, and we talked about he works good. He's a classic old-school heel-bumping worker. And he starts talking about Grayson Waller. And I'm sorry, but this fucking guy, besides having the absolute worst, most unappealing, most unrealistic name in history, he looks like he's 12 years old. He's got a well-groomed baby little face. And, they did a 10-minute promo about the restraining order that old Grayson Waller got, where basically, Waller would either have to wrestle LA Knight, who's now a babyface, or he'd have to wrestle Dexter Lumis. And Waller ends up wrestling Dexter Lumis. And for whatever reason, Waller also wrestles in boxing shorts. You know, the silk boxing shorts like the boxers wear?
Right, that's why they're called boxer shorts originally, yeah.
Well, these are even more opulent than ones you'd wear underneath your various outer clothing. But yeah, so anyway, somebody that even the announcers didn't know who the fuck it was interfered, and Grayson Waller won. So now they're burying Dexter Lumis, the one of the last of the old-time NXT fellas. The Dusty Rhodes Tag Classic is being competed again, Brian. I'm sure you're happy to hear about that.
Whoopee.
In the no, she's not in it. Whoopi Goldberg, she was booked this year. But one of the matches was the Creed brothers with Malcolm Bivens against Briggs and Stratton, the Country Boy team. Briggs and Stratton aren't that bad. The shooters, the Creed brothers, are green as grass, and they tag each other on the ass and all kinds of shit. And of course, the Green brothers won that one. And then, in a foreshadowing of things to come, Walter and Marcel and Fabian, his cohorts, did a promo in the back, all in German, and they had English subtitles. And honestly, this wasn't anything outstanding because I hate to say that, especially with what's going to come up, but it wasn't like watching the old Adolf Hitler speeches where this guy's laying some law down. He's quietly talking to these two, and they're quietly answering him, and you can read what they're saying, but it wasn't anything to write home about, this segment. Then Dante Chin. Have you ever heard of him?
I've never heard. His name is Dante Chin?
Dante Chin, C-H-E-N, Dante Chin.
No, I don't know him.
Well, he's back.
Back? From where?
He's back. He's back from an injury.
I've never heard of him. He was on their show already?
He's back. And he's another 12-year-old looking kid that they've got him dressed in a kabuki outfit because he's of Asian descent. So he comes in the hood and the thing, and he wrestled a guy, and I didn't see the graphic, and I didn't want to back up, but his name was Boo Boo Raj. So Dante Chin wrestled Boo Boo Raj. In the back, there was Rex Bronsteiner, and the new NXT champion. He's doing promos and face-offs now with old Pablo Escobar. So he's doomed coming up. They did a live in-ring interview with Tony D'Angelo in the ring with a coffin, because apparently Pete Dunne is dead and in the coffin. And this Tony D'Angelo gimmick has Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon written all over it. It's just so hokey. And suddenly Carmelo Hayes and his friend Trick interrupted. And they're talking mean to each other. And I wrote, who are the heels? You can't fucking tell. And then here comes Cameron Grimes. And now he's neatly groomed now, by the way. They've shaved him into a nice little beard, and he's wearing a suit, and his hair is combed. So all the distinction he had is off of him now. And I just kept zipping through this because they just kept talking to each other, and who gives a shit, right? It just endless talk. And then this is now here's an example. We talked earlier about, is it that Vince is out of touch with what young people like, or is Vince just, he's lost command of his troops? Here's an example of somebody being out of touch with something that somebody likes these days. They're trying to make Briggs and Stratton party guys that like to go to the bar. I think this is a whitewashed, sanitized PG version of JBL and Ron Simmons, the APA, right? Briggs and Stratton are in the locker room, and two of the girls, I don't know who the fuck they were, they come in and they want to go to a bar and party and drink beer with Briggs and Stratton. See, that's because that's what all the young people do, Brian, is they go to bars and party, right? So Bruce is probably said back there, say, yeah, tell him you want to go to the bar and drink beer and party.
Yeah, Bruce wants to go to the bar.
Yeah, and he ought to be. It looks like he went to the bar before this program. They did awkward romance talk where one of the guys was trying to, he made a mistake where he didn't want to make the girl think that he was really interested in her. So he said, I don't like you. But no, I like you, but I don't like you. And it's like fucking Andy Griffith's show, awkward romance talk. And meanwhile, while this is going on, Brian, between these two girls, they're trying to hit on these two guys. And if it was the APA or Bradshaw and Ron Simmons or any other man in the history of wrestling, they just said, instead of going to the bar, how about we just take you back in the shower and bend you over right there?
It definitely sounds like what JBL would recommend, yeah.
Yeah, well, that would have got these poor fucking guys over with some men out there, but instead they look like two pussies that are doing fucking high school banter with these women. And the whole time that this is going on, Wendy Chu, the new girl they've got now, they're in the locker room, right? And Wendy Chu is wearing pajamas with fuzzy footies and sipping from a sippy cup, laying up on top of the lockers, looking down at all this interaction that's going on. And every once in a while, they'll pan the camera up and she'll take a sip from her cup and say, I don't know what she was. So now they've apparently had, later on in the program, Saray, who was another Japanese girl that they had working in NXT in somewhat regular Japanese girl outfits. Now she's gone back to Japan, found her grandmother's necklace that she gave her, and that's given her inspiration. And now she's returned as a Japanese schoolgirl, wearing a Japanese schoolgirl outfit with this cute little necklace. And that's the Japanese girl. The Chinese girl wrestles in a furry one-piece pink set of jammies. What the fuck is going on here?
The whole show's amateur hour. I don't understand what any of this is. Did someone say, Jim keeps talking about the schoolgirls on AEW, we need schoolgirls? I mean, how did this happen?
It apparently, and again, none of the Asian talent that they treat all of these people just because they don't speak English or can't speak English well, they make them talk like they're 6. And if that's not racist, I'm not sure what. I don't want 98-pound Japanese schoolgirls wearing lace doilies. Give me some fucking Gail Kim. It's not the fucking racial background, it's the presentation. Anyway, then they had some more unknown girls being interviewed in the back, and they had such thick accents. They sounded like Andre Olio, and you couldn't understand what they were saying when they were arguing with the other two girls. And then they had a match with Kaylee Ray versus Ivy Nile. And I almost needed an IV if I'd had to fucking watch it. I skipped to the end and 6 more girls ran in and had the fakest looking fight ever. It was, oh, God damn it. Toxic Attraction is Jane Wayne Gacy and what's the other girl's name? And the girl that they've changed her from a blonde to a brunette so that she could have a meaner look, and they're trying to build, oh my God, it looked like 6 drunk chicks fighting in a bounce house. You know those things they inflate for the kids' birthday parties?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, get 6 girls liquored up, throw them in one of those and tell them to play wrestle. That's what this looked like. But they left that and went backstage because remember old, what the guy really named Gacy, the fat pudgy guy named Gacy with the shooter henchman that they've just buried by being next to this fucking clown. They have attacked, remember Odyssey Jones? So boy, he's a future superstar. Well, apparently he's hurt because he was on crutches. He was on a crutch selling his leg. But when they go backstage, here's these 2 heels standing over him. And they've already attacked him, and he's already screaming, oh, my leg! And everybody's standing around going, oh! And then the heels walk off. So apparently he's really hurt, and they can't even have him take a bump and work on his leg in a working way. They just had to start the segment with him already laying down there going, oh, my leg! This is Saturday Night Live. Then they had the Saray and her necklace thing. It sounds like she's 10 years old. Then they had another Dusty Classic match. And I'm pissed off, Brian, because they're infringing on my gimmick here. The Dusty Classic was the Legado Fantasia guys that run around with old Pablo Escobar against Malik Blade and Idris Enough. I can't even give these people funny nicknames anymore. They're beating me to it. Idris in Idris Enofe. That is this guy's fucking name.
Oh, I thought
Idris Enough.
I thought it was going to be ID, not ED. That's weird. Okay.
And Malik Blade. Anyway, they had a match. Then the next match was Dakota Kai versus Yulisa Leon.
Can I stop you?
I wish you would.
I was a big fan of Dakota Kai whenever we watched NXT. I can't believe she's actually still there. I mean, they've had such a big changeover. She's not on the main roster. She hasn't been released. She's good. I just don't know what she would still be doing in NXT at this point.
Well, you ought to see her now. And what a hairdo. And then after that, more girls were interviewed. It was Raquel Gonzalez and a little girl that she called Chichita. Except they're not happy with each other. And then finally, we got not only to the main event, which was the only thing on this program that any sane, rational person would have actually intentionally wanted to watch. Also, the only thing coming out of the program that everybody was talking about this past week, Walter against Roderick Strong. And I will start with, because the name issue was not revealed until the end of this thing. So let's tell the people how they got there. It's Roderick Strong, and he's in the diamond mine with manager Malcolm Bivens, who they allow to say something every once in a while, and then otherwise his guys just get the shit kicked out of them usually, except when the Green Brothers won the Dusty Classic. But poor old Roddy is matched up with Walter, and it's this was perfect because even though Roddy's a heel, he's got the manager, it accentuated Walter's size. Because Walter's a big guy anyway, but he looked even bigger against Roddy, because Roddy, of course, is vertically challenged. But also, these are 2 pros. They love to chop. They love to hit hard. Roddy doesn't mind, laying shit in. And also, both guys can work. Roddy's got tons of experience. He can work with anybody. Walter works like a territory heel. It woke the crowd up in the building, it seemed like. And this was it was the first thing on the show that resembled a wrestling match. they did different stuff and they struggled to do it. It seemed like it was a contest. Everything made sense. Walter, he sold enough in this that at first it was appropriate, and then I'm thinking, well, maybe a little much because Walter is made to a certain audience, but he's not made to the entire audience, and they need to be protective of him. We'll get to that in a minute. And at one point, Roddy gave Walter a superplex off the top rope and only got a 2 count, and he fought to get it, but that was a little much for Walter to be taking bumps this size, this big, in his formal introduction to the United States, I thought. However, Roddy's on him, he poured it on, but he couldn't put him away, and the people started chanting, "Fight forever." Brian, how much sense does that make? If you're watching a wrestling match, you should want your favorite, your hero, your guy that you've picked to win, and you should want him to be able to do it as quickly as possible. Do they ever chant "fight forever" at a boxing match? Do they ever chant "fight forever" at a UFC fight, even though it may be a great fight?
I've never heard it.
No, because it don't make any fucking sense. You want your guy to fucking win. Unfortunately, now people have come to realize, okay, this is all a performance, so this is good. It's a lot better than the other shit we've been looking at. Just do that all night. It's another thing we've lost. But anyway, besides the fact you wouldn't want to fight forever, Walter blocked a pile driver and hit his power bomb. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And that's the right result. Obviously, it's the best thing on this program. It wasn't Walter versus Ilya, but it was a good win for Walter, but he needs to be a little bit more dominant over everybody he faces, I think, on the way to the main roster. And right there, we were almost off, and I figure, okay, that's, at least they're heading the right direction. And then Walter takes the microphone, and he says, "The winner of this match is Gunther." And you hear crickets and confusion. You can almost hear a puppy dog in the background going, because nobody understood what the fuck. But apparently, we've found out in the intervening time since he uttered those words, some things. Apparently, they were going to change his name too. Possibly, they still might. I at first thought, oh my God, they have changed his name to reflect in honor of, in homage to, one of the great characters in the history of American television, Gunther Tootie. From Car 54, Where Are You?
Joey Ross.
I'm thinking his name is now going to be Gunther Tootie. There's a holdup in the Bronx. Brooklyn's broken out in fights. There's a traffic jam in Harlem that's backed up to Jackson Heights. There's a scout troop short a child. Cruise ships do it idle wild. Car 54, where are you?
If only you could have a partner named Muldoon, it would be perfect.
Oh, and the incomparable Fred Gwynn.
Yeah.
And actually, Walter looks more like Fred Gwynn than he does Joey Ross. Nevertheless, that wasn't it.
I guess so.
They were not naming him after Gunther Tootie because apparently our sharp-eyed viewers on the internet looked this up. They had applied for a trademark. The WWE applied for a trademark just recently on the name Gunther Stark. Okay, that sounds pretty German to me. Well, there's a reason for that. It is German. Not only it is German, it is a German. Gunther Stark, the name that the WWE has just applied to trademark until after this, and then when this news came out, they have dropped the trademark application. Gunther Stark was a Nazi U-boat captain in World War II. We just talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the program here, and I don't know. We should Oh, heck, if Jace in editing wants to put it in, let him put it in. If not, we'll refer to it. But we said on the program here a couple of weeks ago when we heard about Walter coming to the United States and potentially going to the main roster, I said if anybody wanted to sell him to Vince, just say, look at this guy. Imagine he's a German or an Austrian or a Prussian or a Russian. He's an Ivan Drago. Imagine him in a military uniform, or that face, the condescending, manner that he has. He's a foreign menace. That's the way you get. Vince can understand that and can have something to work with there. And then you show Vince the way he lays his shit in and carries himself in the ring, and he's a heartless, cruel, fucking something, right? So apparently, I know Vince McMahon, and I know Bruce Pritchard knows Vince McMahon, but apparently they didn't sell the concept of making him a German war commandant. They fucking actually did it. They were going to make him a real Nazi, named after a real existing fucking Nazi. But then somebody looked up Gunther Stark and let that out, and they've dropped the trademark application, as I said, and I guess maybe if they're still going to go with it, because they had changed his name on the roster page, people started tweeting that out. So I don't know whether it's still going to fly or not. But again, you don't have to change everything. It's the concept of the guy, the way he looks and the way he's presented. He could be Walter because they already know that. I'm not saying if you wanted to pick a name from scratch for somebody that had never been seen to introduce them, maybe you wouldn't go with Walter. But once it's been done for the past few years, why change that? Just present him the way you want to present. And they did the same thing with poor old Mark Magnus. Mark Capani, he was Italian, but he had such dark skin, he looked Arabic, and he's the one that became Muhammad Hassan. He was a great kid in OVW, had tons of potential, could work, great body, could talk, and they bring him up there instead of making him a aggrieved person who was oppressed here in this country and got a grudge because of the anti-Muslim sentiment. They just made him a fucking terrorist. And he tried to behead The Undertaker. And in the first case of this ever in the history of wrestling, the network fired him, canceled his career, said, no, we're not going to have this on TV ever again. So now they want to make Walter, instead of making him the concept of an evil Prussian or German or Russian military officer, they want to make him name him after an actual existing Nazi. Is it just me, or has everybody gone completely out of their fucking rabbit-ass mind?
This one is specifically completely nuts. I don't know how it gets this far. You would think if someone came up with the name Gunther, and again, they didn't think of Car 54. By the way, one of the weirdest records I have is the Joey Ross record. But as the song, ooh, ooh, the song, his catchphrase?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. He was also in It's About Time, It's About Space, It's About Two Men in the Strangest Place, It's About Two Astronauts. Remember It's About Time? Where the astronauts went back in time and found the cave people and then brought them to the future?
I didn't see that one, no.
Well, go ahead with your talk of Walter.
But to name him after an actual Nazi, that takes effort. First of all, he's been on TV. He's known as Walter or Walter, however you want to pronounce it. He's been on WWE TV. He's been on NXT. He's been the star of NXT UK. Now, all of a sudden, he just all of a sudden has a different name. What a coincidence. They just happened to pick the name of a fucking German U-boat captain? What the fuck happened here? And why do you change this guy's name?
Well, and apparently the guy's easy to search because they came up with pictures of him and everything.
And I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw a little bit of it, and Walter did it. He did the promo. He's doing as good as he can. Why did he consent to this? That's the question I always have. Especially right now where you have more guys putting their foot down about stupid shit than ever before. This guy was in Europe. He was happy. Why did he consent to coming over here, coming up with a whole new name that he won't be able to own? Why would he agree to any of this?
But hold on now. We don't know what the timeline was because, again, they just proved with old Alice in Danger that they will move someone across the country or the world. They will promise them whatever. They'll get them ensconced wherever they're supposed to be, and then they'll fucking pull the rug out from under them. Maybe he'd already sold his place over in Vienna and fucking moved his shit, an international move, signed leases, and then they say, oh, by the way, we're going to fucking name you Tits McGee. Well, do I want to pack everything up and turn around and make that? Would you want to move back to the old Last Manor right after you've got into the brand new Last Manor?
I wouldn't want to, but I wouldn't mind it. That was a great place.
Well, but you know what I'm saying. For heaven's sake. They probably got him, and he's like, yo, what the fuck? You couldn't bring this up before? No, because then you knew what I'd say. I'm telling you, you know, these things, sometimes they come as surprises, but I don't think that any of the wrestlers should be surprised or shocked from now on when shit like this comes up. And, oh, everything's going along fine, and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, we're going to cut your balls off. You know who's not going to cut your balls off, Brian? Our friends at Manscaped. That's who. They're not going to cut your balls off, folks, because I'll tell you, Valentine's Day is coming up. And when you think about Valentine's Day, of course, the most important thing on that fateful day is clean balls. And did you remember, folks, to order the package that will take care of your package with the best tools for the job? I'm talking about the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped, the thing that every guy needs in their life, and some girls. I've seen a few hairy and hirsute young ladies in my time. They might have benefited from this as well, but nevertheless, the name of the company is Manscaped, so we're going to go with that. The number one product in this entire package is the Lawnmower 4.0, which is especially designed to trim hair on loose skin. So now we know how the corpse referee Rick Knox gets so slick. He's got no eyebrows, he's got no eyelashes, he's got no body hair, no facial hair, no taint hair, but his skin is so wrinkly and it drips off of his bones like a popped balloon. He uses Manscaped. You just can't nick yourself. Folks, in addition to the Lawnmower 4.0's advanced skin-safe technology, reducing the cuts and nicks on your delicate balls, or if you want to shave an actual dead body like Rick Knox, it will not take the rotting skin off nearly like a regular shaver. And it's even got the 4000K LED spotlight so you can shave anywhere in light or darkness. And it's waterproof. So the folks at Manscaped are proposing making February 13th National Shave Your Balls Day. I believe they say it's one holiday that men and women can both get behind. That sounds like a Terry Garvin School of Self-Defense joke. But if you do it on the 13th, then you might get a chance to do it on the 14th, guys. Shave them on the 13th and immerse them on the 14th. They'll go in nice and slick that way. The package also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, and they even throw in 2 free gifts, the Shed travel bag and the anti-chafing or Chris Chavis, I don't know, Tatanka, the anti-Tatanka boxer briefs to keep the boys stored comfortably. And they also got the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. It's all part of the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. And if you go to Manscaped and make your Valentine's Day date or arrangement say, wow, great set of balls you've got there, you can do it even cheaper now because you can go to manscaped.com/JCE and get 20% off and free shipping. Manscaped.com/JCE, 20% off and free shipping. And as they say, join Cupid and shoot your arrow along with several loads on Manscaped this Valentine's Day. Or I should have said it like this. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow and a few loads with Manscaped, not on them. You don't want to do that on them. You want to do it with them on someone else. Oh, fuck it. Just call Cupid or an escort service. I don't care what you do. Just shave your balls.
Manscaped. That's what we want to say. Manscaped.com/JCE.
Brian, I'm afraid things may go downhill from here at a rather rapid manner. So why don't you tell the people what the Arcadian Vanguard network has in store for them this week, and we'll go from there.
Well, what better way to get a push downhill than to start my plugs right here? But actually,
you're going downhill. Good.
Well, actually, considering
we've established with Travis that was the right direction.
No, we did not. But considering how busy and how crazy everything is, I don't know what the fuck is going on, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll have the update and all the plugs on the drive-thru in a couple of days. But just real quick, go through all the shows, check out all the shows on Twitter at Superpodcast, on Facebook, facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard, of course, 605pod.com, or search for the 605 Super Podcast wherever you find your favorite podcast. And we're going to have information on the drive-thru in a couple days about the brand new Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon. Stay tuned for that. But that's it. The big plugs this week on the drive-thru, but I know everyone's going to complain if I don't do it. The Mothership!
I wasn't going to complain.
Everyone else.
All right, hold on here. We're going to talk about AEW Dynamite from Wednesday night, January 19th. And
whoa, you okay?
I'm on the 2-liter. I'm pouring it all out into the glass. I'm drinking heavy today.
What are we hearing?
I tossed that empty 2-liter over my shoulder. Oh, my God. They opened up. Brian, have you noticed that no matches or title changes or shocking occurrences inside the ring or within the world of wrestling trend on Twitter or get anybody talking on the websites or the internet or whatever? It's all of the who's fired, who's hired, who's retired from wrestling, who's got their name changed, who's being held hostage against their will, or who said something stupid again on television. That's what everybody's paying attention to. And this television program that AEW presented made me want to drink, and I almost went to the hard stuff, the actual Sprite with sugar. That's how verklempt I was over this thing.
Oh, come on. You don't have to do that into a microphone.
All righty. So last week, we took Mr. John Moxley, the CEO of Moxley Plumbing, to task for Tony Khan has done everything. He's been over backwards for this guy. He pays him a fortune. He's pushed him to his championship. He's let him do all of his indie style outlaw furniture matches every week. And his entrance from the arena or from the parking lot into the arena, he's been indulged with everything. His matches, if you like them or you don't like them, is one thing, but nobody can say that they're ever any different. He always does the same shit. We've talked about this, right? But looking at it from a business standpoint, Tony Khan changed all his booking plans. He heard that Moxley had to go to rehab and get healthy. Changed all his booking plans. Gave him as much time as he needed. There was no ill will or, bad statements made about anybody. Go do your thing. Get healthy. And Moxley disappears, and it's been, close to 3 months, right? So as we said last week, suddenly on the internet, the announcement came out that John Moxley was returning to the world of wrestling at Garbage Championship Wrestling in New York or wherever on such and such date. Not for AEW. The announcement was he was coming back for an outlaw company to do an indie show. And I say, you've got to be out of your mind after all that Tony Khan has done to indulge this guy and put this guy over and paid him a fortune and changed all his plans and never said boo to a goose. And now the big news comes out that Moxley is out of reach because nobody knew where he was. Nobody's heard a thing about him. Nobody knew whether he was going to come back or not. And suddenly the announcement is made. And I got to be honest with you, a lot of people got what I was talking about. And a lot of people, Brian, you've seen some of the feedback. They still didn't get it. Because then they were on Twitter like, well, see, he showed up on Dynamite. And that's 2 days before the garbage championship wrestling match that was advertised. So, see, he was back for AEW first. God, I'm glad that these people never have to be promoters because they don't know how it works. Once that the announcement was made that he was coming back for the other goddamn company, then everybody figured, yeah, I bet he'll be on. I even said, yeah, I bet he'll be on Dynamite Wednesday. And he was. Because they had the ability to do anything they wanted to do. Did they want to have him come out on AEW television as a surprise and shock everybody in the building and do some promo or make some impact, jump somebody, do whatever? They could have done that. Or they could have gone the other way and they could have said, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, Jon Moxley has just emerged from rehab and he's in training and in 3 weeks, he's going to be on Dynamite. And then for those 3 weeks on all of their television programs, they could have had everybody's thought process on Jon Moxley coming back. Some of the baby faces probably for it. Some of the heels probably against it. Somebody may give a veiled threat or two. Build some goddamn interest. Advertise it for 3 weeks. Pop a number for the guy's return. They could have done that. Instead, the picture that the corner that they were painted into because of the landscape of the thing, the people knew that by the announcement of garbage wrestling that Moxley was out of rehab. And then whether he was going to be on Dynamite on Wednesday or whether he was going to be on Rampage on Friday or whatever, well, he'll show up sooner or later because he's already being advertised for other companies. So I guess he'll probably drop in the one he was supposed to work for full time. How is it hard to figure out that they lost a golden opportunity for AEW just to indulge this guy once again with his habit of wanting to go out and work mud shows for fun? And I say he's wiping his feet on Tony Khan. So possible. Do you think now that I've explained it again, Brian, that some people might understand that basic tenet of being a promoter and promotion is that if something is supposed to be your contracted talent, that you get the opportunity to decide how that they're announced and where they're announced they're going to be? I don't understand what's hard to understand about this. Do you?
I think it's pretty easy, pretty simple, and you lay it out pretty well.
So, the show comes on the air, and here comes Jon Moxley. They announced, by the way, the day before on Twitter. Garbage Championship Wrestling got a press release out saying that Jon Moxley would be on their show wherever, whenever, in a main event, I'm sure, in a week or two in advance. Make sure everybody knew. And AEW, a national television program, gets to announce the day before the television show airs on Twitter that Moxley will be there. So he enters through the arena even slower than usual. He actually took a wrong turn at one point and had come back and fucking find the way to get to the ring. And by the way, did you see the sign, Brian, as he walked by, the big pink sign that you couldn't miss that said Last Fears Toppings?
I eventually saw the sign, but I actually watched Dynamite a couple of days later just due to my schedule. And by that point, my phone, in the middle of my move, my phone blew up with people sending me pictures of that sign.
Well, they got to entertain themselves somehow with what they're being fed in person. So anyway, Moxley gets in the ring and the welcome back chants are going, and then they die down. And right as Moxley's about to speak, and folks, I'm not lying to you, what I'm about to say next, I'm not making this up. If you didn't see it and you didn't hear about it, and bless you if you have a real life and you didn't have to be exposed to all this. But as soon as the chants died down, one fan off in the distance, because everything's quiet, Moxley is about to speak, and one fan in the distance yells something at him, and it's a long sentence. And you see Moxley look up, and I swear to you people, this is what he said to the fan on the microphone, on television, on TBS. Hey, go fuck yourself. Get that guy out of here, you piece of shit.
And by the way, they didn't get the guy out of there. Apparently he stayed.
Well, good. Good. Because now, again, we've got the fucking wrestlers telling security to kick people out of the building for fucking saying nasty shit to them and hurting their feelings. But more than that, he just said fuck. And I mean, there's so many things wrong with this. We're going to go over a list of them, including Jericho's trademark. He might as well send the way of Gunther Stark. Again, if that had been broadcast television, whoever broadcast that could legally be fined large sums of money by the Federal Communications Commission. You've heard of the FCC. It's been around for about 80 years. Besides that, even though it's on cable, somebody said, well, they don't have the 7-second delay. Well, nobody was thinking the first words out of this guy's mouth was going to be fuck and shit. So I'm sure that whoever it was didn't have their finger on the fucking button. If you think that TNT or TBS like that, you're out of your fucking mind. This is not some boys club that Tony, they goes and hangs out with all the programmers and they play Scrabble. They're not that friendly. Somebody sooner or later high up in that organization is going to actually watch this program and see something like this. Now, having said that, after all this, after Tony has accommodated this guy, bent over backwards for him, done all these things, he comes out to make his big fucking return statement. And the first thing he does is says fuck on TV. He tells one of the fans to go fuck himself, wants him kicked out, and then says shit to follow that up with. Another wrestler with hurt feelings that would have been fined, AEW would have been fined if they were on broadcast television. It didn't do him any favors on cable television. Tony Khan apparently was highly pissed, and rightfully so. We don't know what was said between Tony Khan and old John Moxley because that wasn't made public, but Tony was not happy. And again, he gives the Outlaws the scoop on him and then comes in and tries to get Tony's TV canceled in the first 2 minutes. And I don't care about profanity, but networks do and sponsors do, unless it's Showtime and they're doing the softcore porn theater. And I saw a bunch of guys on Twitter going, well, it's bad language. Yeah, and I don't give a fuck because we say fuck and fuck and fuckity McFuck on this podcast all the time because we're not under the auspices of the Federal Communications Commission, and we're not a national cable network that also airs children's programming, and we're not. I love our sponsors to death, but they understand what they're getting in for, and it's not like, the Coca-Cola sponsorship is going to be followed by the fucking, commercial for the Diddlator Mach 3 dildo vibrator. So anyway, and I'll tell you, before we talk about his interview, one of the people that was upset with the promo, but not apparently the language, but the fact that Moxley didn't apologize for letting the fans down, was Bubba Ray Dudley. Did you hear this?
I did see this, and I have to admit, although not a big John Moxley fan, this was one of the stupidest takes maybe anyone in wrestling has ever had. on a podcast or a radio show. What a stupid, stupid, stupid take.
He didn't need to apologize. And I think Bubba even said, well, he doesn't need to apologize, but one would have been nice or whatever. No, he didn't need to apologize to the people for taking time off to go to rehab because they were with him on that. He didn't offend anybody. I remember that somebody, Punk, in his return promo, he apologized if the choices that he made of where to work, disappointed anybody, but he had to do what he had to do. That's an appropriate apology for an appropriate place and appropriate time, but there was not one needed here. That was the least of the things that was wrong with this interview.
You didn't need an apology at all. And in fact, you didn't even need to address it. It could have just been he returns and he kicks someone's ass. He returns and he does something. The fact that they addressed it, there was nothing wrong with addressing it. You didn't have to have him come out there and apologize. Now, the rest of the promo we'll talk about.
Well, first, the reason I brought that up is because Bubba should have told a story about the time I demanded an apology from him on behalf of Jeff Jarrett and TNA. Did I ever tell you this story?
I'm not sure.
Every time I say that, something bad happens. Did I ever tell you this story? In TNA, this had to be 2007. It was one of the pay-per-views they did on location. May have been St. Louis. Maybe it was 2006. I don't know. But it was the electrified cage between the Dudleys and Homicide, LAX, Homicide and Conan and Hernandez at that time. And as soon as I heard about the thing, I was like, oh, fuck, because I'd been there. I fell for the fucking electrified cage at the Thunderdome in WCW in Philly in 1989. When they said, oh, yeah, we're going to have special effects and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, it's TBS. The big time network TV, whatever. Okay. And that was the one where they had the special effects rigged to emit sparks and leaps of electricity from the top of the cage and in WCW in the Thunderdome. And it ended up, they turned it on at the start of the match and it set some of the fucking shit on fire at the top of the cage and they turned the juice off. And so the guys just had to act like they were being shocked when they touched it.
Although one of the coolest moments ever was Muta blowing out the fire with the mist. That's one of the greatest things ever.
They had all kinds of burlap sacks and all kinds of Halloweeny spooky shit hanging from the cage, and the special effects caught the burlap on fire, and Muta goes and shoots the fucking mist and puts the fire out. And Tommy Young's up there whacking it with his hands. So when I heard about it in TNA, I thought, oh, fuck. But they said, oh, I've done it in Mexico. And they'll do this and that and the other thing. And I thought, oh, fuck. All right. So we get there, and it's my match. I'm the agent. And they had a good finish, and they liked working with each other. So we didn't think it was going to be a problem there, but they get in the ring, and guess what? Wouldn't you know who won the pony? The fucking electricity doesn't work. It's bullshit. I think somebody said they actually hooked up some kind of car batteries to the thing in Mexico. I don't fucking know. But anyway, so now the guys are mad because the fucking gimmick of the match doesn't work. Like we should have all known. They shouldn't have booked it to begin with. It's fucking goofy. But they do their best they can to have a match, but Bubba's hot especially. And somehow or another, I forget exactly what happened, but at the end of the match, when LAX had left the cage, somehow Bubba is right in the cage door and the camera's right on him. And he screamed at the top of his lungs, whatever he said, it had fuck in it. And Jeff's eyes blow up and his head explodes because it's pay-per-view, but this also was 15 years ago. And sponsors, television, they probably going to show highlights on TV, whatever. You don't want fuck on your program. So Jeff looks at me and says, go tell him why did he say fuck, and go yell at him for saying fuck, whatever he told me to do. Go admonish Bubba Ray for screaming fuck into the floor camera on our show. So here I go, right? And they're coming in the other direction, and he's hotter than a $2 pistol because their goddamn gimmick didn't work. And I've been in a position where, yes, oh my God, I remember in Texas Stadium when that goddamn idiot giant, Little John Harris, fucked the whole fucking finish up. And I knew it was going to happen 3 weeks ahead of time, and I was right, and I was pissed. And so I know how it feels. And here he comes, and he's hot. But I'm like, Bubba, And he's like, what the fuck? And I'm what the fuck, right? And he's what the fuck about the gimmick, and I'm what the fuck about the fuck. He didn't understand why that we were madder about the fuck than the gimmick not working. And I truthfully didn't understand why that any of them wanted to do this match to begin with. And we yelled at each other for a while, but Jeff was not fucking happy because of fuck. And that was pay-per-view. So, but anyway, so here's Moxley in the ring. He's just said, hey, go fuck yourself. Get that guy out of here, you piece of shit. And then he proceeds to do this promo. And it was about the demons and black clouds and a dream that he had. And he woke up from the dream where the demon was saying, you think you deserve to make it out of here with all the things that you don't deserve, the things that you've got that you don't deserve. I've got more scars on the outside, but I've got scars on the inside too, and nobody's perfect. And in one way, it was a performance of some kind. And in the other way, I'm thinking this is now a modern babyface, and these are modern fans because they are all unhappy and miserable and flawed and proud of being so and want everybody to know how miserable and flawed and upset and unhappy they are. It was a performance, the likes of which most people don't give, but I don't know if it sold too many tickets or got anything over moving forward. I think I understood his promos more when he was under the influence of something than I did this one. But he finished up with 2 more shits and a shove it up your ass and said that nobody can put him through more hell than he's been through on his own, and finished up with, these days all I drink is blood, and left. And by the way, even though he was dressed in street clothes, just eyeballing it, it looks like he lost more weight in rehab than Yokozuna did when we sent him to the Duke weight loss clinic. So he turned sideways one time. If I didn't have an HD television, he would have disappeared. I don't know what to say about this. It seemed like it was more, psychological therapy than a promo. But if he retained his weird promos and actually looked like a star, I think, and if he could do other stuff besides indie style matches, I think he'd be money. But right now, I think he's just strange. What do you think?
Well, first I'll just say I'm happy that he's back and seemingly healthier than he was, especially considering he has a baby at home. This is a time you should enjoy your life and you should enjoy being a dad. And I hope he does. I really hope he does. If you're going to address it, if you're going to have him come back and do a promo, you have to let him address it in his way. It becomes a little self-indulgent, but what else are you going to do? My issue is when it turns back into the wrestling promo. I just have gotten to a point a few months back. I don't believe anything Moxley says because it gets ridiculous. I remember one promo, I forget what it was. I want to say it was him and Kingston talking about someone. And it was like, I kicked your ass, I've done this, so now I have to kill you. And it's like, you're not killing anyone. You're not drinking blood. Like, come on. At that point, it gets too silly. The promo was what it was. I'm happy he's healthier. We'll see what happens from here. I guess they're going to do him and Danielson after all, it looks like. And it won't be him. Remember, originally it was going to be him as a heel.
Wait, what? They're going to do him what? Do what? Where?
I didn't see Rampage yet, but I was told they have teased Moxley and Danielson.
Oh, God.
And if you remember, before he went to rehab, we all thought that he was going to turn heel and have a feud with Danielson in that tournament, and that didn't happen, so maybe they're going to do it and he won't be the one turning.
So here's another guy that we used to look forward to everything he did, and now he's going to be in the ring with Moxley, and that'll shit all over that. Bubba wanted him to apologize to the fans for taking time off. I think he ought to apologize to Tony for treating him like a doormat and trying to get him kicked off television.
Yeah, and Bubba should apologize to everyone for the last 25 years.
Just say 22.
22.
All right. Anyway, start looking the ratings of this show up now, because as we go, I'm going to illustrate why I can't believe anybody stuck to the end of this thing. After Moxley attempted to get him kicked off television, then they had a tag team match with the incredible Shrinking Cole and his girlfriend Britt Baker against Pockets the mascot and his cohort Chris Flatlander. A mixed tag team match with Adam Cole in it. Has anybody fallen farther than Adam Cole? Not even Rhea Ripley. The top NXT star. 3 months later, he's doing mixed tag team matches with the Puddin' Gang. Has anybody in entertainment in the history of show business fallen farther? Ted Healy, after the Stooges left him, did he fall farther? Did Bela Lugosi? Bela Lugosi starred in Dracula, ended up addicted to morphine and doing walk-on parts for Ed Wood. Did he fall farther? Or is it Adam Cole? And somehow in this foolishness, Britt Baker took a bump through a table to the floor, and Adam Cole had to hit Pockets in his non-existent balls in order to beat him. And by that time that was over, we're 30 minutes into this television program. And all we've seen is Moxley with Tourette's and a mixed tag with a mascot. Should we start calling him Adam Healy now? This is going to drive him to drink.
I appreciate the Ted Healy reference. I hope people go out there, and of course you go see Hey Mo, Hey Dad. It's available on DVD.
Hey Mo, Hey Dad. Yep.
I started saying it a little while back about Cole that I noticed he was never a big guy, but he's got no muscle tone at all now. Everyone's noticed it. He's smaller than Britt Baker. And this is a guy who was brought in off NXT TV in a prime position to be programmed as a top guy or to be set up for that. And who knows where things will end up, and they have a very forgiving audience. But there couldn't be too many worse ways to bring in Adam Cole. And every single time he's on TV lately, whether it's in a sleeveless shirt or actually in the ring with just his trunks on, I hate to say it, but every time he's on TV, I agree a little bit more with Bruce and Vince about how they would have used him there.
Yeah.
I hate to say it because he's a talented guy in terms of what he could do, but you're watching a guy the size of Rio do these things.
And I mean, and part of it's presentation and the picture and the context that they present it in and that they draw for you. And also, as you said, it looks like he went to where he's less happy because he's just given up any type of physical training. But at the same time, is it because he's more happy and he's just like, oh, fuck it. Again, he was the guy on NXT that we would fast forward through the rest of the show to watch their segments. Now, it's exactly the opposite. We're fast forwarding through everything he does because it's so abysmal and it's so beneath him and it's so discouraging and disheartening to see what it's become. And we were 30 minutes into the program after the mixed tag and the Moxley with Tourette's. And I got to be honest, I was getting tired. I don't have the conditioning anymore, Brian, to be able to bear up under shit like this.
I completely agree you do not have the conditioning. However, despite the transition I'm picking up on, I actually think Adam Cole's the one who needs the conditioning, and Adam Cole may be the one who needs to work out more.
Well, but I don't think he's going to do it because I think he's given up, abandon all hope ye who enter here. That's what Adam Cole said when he walked into the AEW locker room. But folks, you don't need to abandon a bit of hope because much like Brian last indicated just scant moments ago, a transition to a spot is coming, and that is to get me in better condition to bear up under the incredible physical duress of watching these programs. I need to get the Echelon Fitness equipment, the workout equipment, the workout community, and the instructor's motivation right in the comfort and privacy of my own privy, Brian. I'll have you know that I'm privy to plenty of privacy when I'm in my privy. If you've been working out or not working out, if you've been working too hard and not working out enough, or any combination of those things, if you just want to get in better shape, if you don't want people to mock you and make fun of you like the incredible shrinking Cole, and you don't have time to go to the gym, Echelon Fitness brings the gym home to you with world-class instructors choreographing classes with music from your favorite artists like Strawberry Alarm Clock and the Troglodytes. And you get a community of all your favorite artists are there from what they tell me. And you get a community.
Yeah, okay.
A community of hundreds of thousands of people who can give you that extra push in that community, folks. It's a lawless band. They have no police force, no law enforcement plan put in place. It's just a community of hundreds of thousands of people working out on this equipment, sweating and spitting, and they're in great shape, but it's in chaos, that community. But Echelon Fitness is the affordable way to get the workout equipment, the workout community, and the instructor's motivation, as we mentioned, right in your own home, because their fitness app provides you with thousands of live and on-demand classes. And once again, if you attend every single one of these classes virtually, you'll probably have a stroke. You could overdo even good things. So don't attend all thousands of them. Just pick one or two a day. But you can work out anytime, day or night. Just pick your class, climb that leaderboard with grappling hooks and suction cups. Cheer each other on, give it your all. The instructors are supportive, engaging, and fun, and good for you, and they taste great. They're also vegan-free, and they're cholesterol-free, and they're low-carb. They're great instructors. And Echelon Fitness's full range of affordable workout equipment, stuff that you can purchase and pay for without going to the poorhouse, includes stationary bikes, smart rowers, sleek fitness screens, and the ever-popular auto-folding treadmill that you have to keep an eye on because it tends to fold up at odd times. They're all connected to provide the Echelon Fitness experience. And remember, one membership in Echelon Fitness covers a family of 5. Might not be your family, but some families getting covered. Right now, for a limited time only, podcast listeners of mine can get up to $650 off the MSRP of all of this fine equipment. To get this exclusive discount, you got to text DRIVE, the word DRIVE, D-R-I-V-E, to 818181. Text DRIVE to 818181. Again, that's not OU812, that's 818181. $650 off the MSRP, and also the price of all this shit. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Where are the terms? We don't know. You'll find them in the details.
All right. Those are some incredible details there. Let's get back to the review of the very detailed AEW Dynamite.
Well, there's trouble in the dinner circle. Have you heard about this? Have you read about this?
I understand they're all very upset. Chris Jericho is back.
Well, and also, and Officer Barbrady was right there. He witnessed this. Santana and Ortiz, they were scripted lines, and they delivered them in a so-so manner, but they're starting to question Chris Jericho. They're starting to take what Eddie Kingston said to heart. When have you had our back, Chris? Why aren't we tag team champions? There's dissension in the ranks here. And this is where I wouldn't even have mentioned this interview because there wasn't much to it, except poor Chris Jericho. He has just filed for a trademark for sports entertainment use for clothing and goods and services and whatever and all that stuff. GFY. What does GFY stand for in this instance, Mr. Last?
Well, typically it would be go fuck yourself, and using it as GFY is pretty lame, which is why I'm not surprised at all that Chris Jericho is not only trying to run with this, which makes him look completely foolish, but tried to trademark it as well.
Yes, and apparently, and he tried to establish it by saying, "Hey, I got news for you guys, GFY," if you know what I mean. after Moxley had just come out and said on television, hey, go fuck yourself. Now Jericho, he spent money on filing a trademark application. He's had plans to get this thing over, and it's already been taken right out from under him. And he's still, apparently this was a pre-tape, so he probably didn't know that Moxley got the potty mouth. But he's trying to get the sanitized PG version of go fuck yourself over as a new gimmick for him because he's all cool and hip. And Moxley had just said it 45 minutes beforehand. Oh, boy.
He has the sensibilities of like a teenage girl. Not even teenage, a tween girl.
Ooh, that's going to be awful edgy when he says GFY on television.
GFY.
So Adam Cole was in the back and did a pissed off promo. It's not over yet. He's still mad at Pockets, the company mascot, and he challenged him next week. No disqualification. So next week we get to skip the incredible shrinking Cole against Pockets in a garbage match where they'll use furniture and Cole's star will be further driven into fucking dust in the ground.
Even his promos. I don't believe his promos anymore either.
No, well, and he's talking about an idiot. Who, if you're talking about somebody that's a joke and nobody gives a shit about them to begin with and they couldn't get arrested on Main Street because nobody knows who the fuck they are, then what difference does it make whether the promo's any good or not? And then the Surefire segment came up, Brian, that I thought we can always rely on. In this case, Shawn Spears, the chairman, versus like Mussolini. I can't breathe. I saw what they were going to do. I saw what they were trying to do. It was actually standing alone, a nice tease. But almost an hour into a rotten television program, this was a letdown. Spears and Punk are in the ring for their challenge match. MJF goes to color, says this is going to be awesome. The bell rings. They go to lock up. They duck and dodge, and Punk lifts Spears up and gives him the GTS boom 1, 2, 3 in 10 seconds. And and then MJF's, oh shit, and he goes to the ring, but Punk sees him and grabs him by the scarf. And as he draws back to punch him, MJF ducks out of the scarf and bails out. Again, standing alone in a good program, a good TV show, this wouldn't have been bad because it was a nice little tease and he still hadn't got his hands on MJF again and we're still want to see the match. But as rotten as the rest of this show had been and was about to get worse, didn't you feel just kind of a little let down?
I don't know, because Spears is someone who I've never really liked, and I don't even like him really in this role, and I'm happy this kind of ended quick, and I think it kind of told an interesting story. The biggest complaint from you seems not to be anything about this match or angle.
Not what they did, but they did where they did it. They did it in the middle of this show where I just want to see Punk out there for 10 minutes just so I could fucking relax instead of, oh my God, what car wreck is going to happen next?
I didn't have a major problem with this, though, and of course, it wasn't the only time we saw MJF, and I did get a kick out of the idea MJF was brought out to do commentary and the match lasted 2 seconds.
Well, following that, Billy Gunn, apparently, they even said this, Billy Gunn has commandeered a cameraman and he's in the parking lot. So Billy Gunn kidnapped a cameraman and brought him to the parking lot where it just happened. An hour into this program, Christian Cage was just showing up. Even though he didn't actually do anything, nor did Jungle Boy nor Dino douche on this whole program. So Christian was just about going on to 9 o'clock at night, walking in the back of the arena when Billy Gunn accosts him and says, hey, what about a tag team title match for my sons? And Cage blows him off and he says, you're going to have to make a statement or prove yourself, whatever. So then immediately the Sons attack Christian Cage in the parking lot in front of the cameraman and bash him off the garage door a couple of times. And so now we're going to have a tag team title match, obviously, because every week, every show, somebody gets beat up and there'll be more than one. This was not the last one tonight. But at this point, is it not just an inside rib? Are they not just let's see how many backstage beat ups and beat downs can we put in a single program to where nobody will ever care again? Can't wait for that tag match. But then, if Moxley was a performance of some description earlier, he got topped because this was a performance of some description. Cody, the big entrance, I guess he signed his contract. He made an off-kilter line or an off-color line about he didn't get the contract he wanted, but he's obviously signed again. He's doing an entrance. He's in a suit and a tie and the belt. And during his entrance, they roll in a plug for the Go Big show and then go to a break. And in picture, you see Cody pulling a ladder out from under the ring and putting it in the ring for the promo. So they come back from the break and he's being booed relentlessly. And Brian, he's got to be going with it. I'll let you talk about this because Cody's a favorite topic of yours, but from the opening line of what do you guys want to talk about while they're booing the shit out of him to the display that he put on later on, he's preparing to be a heel that's mentally lost his mind, right? Or is he just someone that's mentally lost his mind?
Well, as you said, I'm a big fan of Cody, mainly for the comedy reasons. I think he's one of the funniest human beings on the entire planet because he's completely out of touch. And he spends so much time thinking about how to be in touch that it drives him further out of touch. And these promos, which at this point, if you didn't already know, you probably would have figured out they're so predetermined, premeditated, thought out, workshopped. There's nothing that feels genuine or instinctive about it. I think Cody is lost at sea. I will tell you, I heard from people in the company that said, "What did you think of that fucking promo?" And I said, "Oh, I thought it was hysterical. He's the funniest guy in the world." And their reaction was quite opposite. It was, "God, we're sick of this guy. He's out of his mind." I don't know what this promo was. I'm not sure what it was trying to accomplish. The teasing of, will he be heel, will he be face? It's gotten past the point of being a good thing, where he's flat out saying, "That's why I won't turn heel."
Yeah, he said that.
Because of the revolution. And listen, you're not a leader of any revolution. And if you left AEW, everything would be completely fine. In fact, some people would be a lot happier. So enough with this shit. The revolution. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, that's the thing. He was booed relentlessly at the start. What do you guys want to talk about? And then he starts talking about Punk's pipe bomb promo and put it over as being revolutionary and led into, but we did the revolution, I did the revolution. He gave a prepared, rehearsed speech that was the antithesis of Punk's promo because that was a real expression of the truth and how he felt. And that's why it got over with people, because everybody knew it and they couldn't believe he was being allowed to or was just saying it on television. And in this case, when Cody started it, the fans were interrupting for "shut the fuck up." And then he flipped out and started screaming, and he got some oomph in it. And he said, "I did what Punk didn't do. I built the forbidden door." And he started talking in all these smart fan circles where he couldn't say shit, but if you're a smart fan, you knew what he was saying. But it was like he was going insane right there, and he was finally going to turn heel and say, "I did it. It was all me. Fuck all of you." But then, as he's doing this, he actually got, from some segment of the crowd, got a Cody chant going because he was just screaming and looked like he was melting down. And they liked that. And then, out of nowhere, go ahead.
Although at one point, where he's doing his little rant. And it's so funny because it's so stupid. You hear one fan just go, "Shut the fuck up!" Like he sounded frustrated. "Shut the fuck up!" You hear it.
Well, and then Cody, in the middle of all that, there was a line where he put Jay Lethal's finish over for no apparent reason. He talked about Malachi Black and said that they didn't change people's names to Gunner McGillibuddy or whatever. He mentioned everybody in the company. And then suddenly segued into Sammy. And I wrote, again, the same thing with Moxley. Is this promo on advice of his therapist? This was like one of those the therapy things they do. And so he challenges Sammy Guevara to a ladder match. That makes perfect sense. A ladder match between two baby faces to unify the two TNT TV titles on a show that will air on TBS next week.
And by the way, let's just also point out, interim TNT champion because Cody was off TV for a week.
They named an interim champion. Then the previous champion came back, as you said, the next week. And then now they're going to have and we get plenty of rematches of this. Will this be the third time they've wrestled in 4 weeks on television? But I refer you back to the rematch between FTR and the Young Bucks that never happened. And all the other rematches we wanted to see that never happened. But we've seen this match now. We'll see it 3 times in a 4-week period. And now they've got to defend the TNT title on TBS and the TBS title on TNT. What the fuck is going on here? So I don't know if Cody wants us to like him or hate him or fight him or fuck him or run him a foot race. I have no idea what's going on here.
I think Cody wants the world to love him. And it's never going to happen. And he has moments where he accepts that. And then he has moments where he gets mad and frustrated at the fact that nobody wants him there. And then it turns into this. This promo was just a mess. And how long did it go?
I was too transfixed on watching a man have a nervous breakdown to actually watch the clock. But it was a while. He was out there a while.
I'm still transfixed on that tattoo. That tattoo may be the dumbest thing any human being who was an executive vice president on a major wrestling show and a major star. He never recovered from that. I know it sounds silly, but the moment he got that tattoo, the moment during that match with MJF, where fans realized that thing's not rubbing off, he never has recovered in the fans' eyes.
Should we recover? I mentioned that this is still going on with Cody. Well, there's something else still going on. The rivalry between the Varsity Blondes. Boy, I'll tell you what, they're two pussy magnets with that name, the Varsity Blondes. Griff Garrison and poor old Brian Pillman. And Malachi Black and Brody King. And everybody's, "Oh, Cornette, why don't you like Brody King? He's a big guy. He's a blah, blah, blah." Well, if he had been brought in a manner that you understood what the fuck was going on and gave somebody a reason to care about him, we might. But since Malachi Black started out as a top guy kicking a shit out of Cody and the main event guys, and now he and his new tag team partner are in a program with poor old Griff Garrison that, I'm sorry, just Pippi fucking Longstocking. Just please. Pillman had a chance and they've buried him and made him look like an idiot. And now this is still going on. And in this match, they beat up Griff Garrison for less than a minute. And then he dove over for a hot tag to Pillman, which he missed. He missed tagging his partner. He dove and missed it. And you saw Pillman, as Griff had crumpled to the mat, Pillman's hand is still out like, "Shit, you missed it. Oh, well, fuck it." And then he got the tag and didn't make a comeback. He went to do a springboard but acted badly, scared to do a springboard once and then twice, and then jumped down on the floor and made a boo-boo face. Because remember the last time he tried to do it, he slipped.
I want to say something. I checked on that actually after we talked about it because you were pretty insistent that it was a planned spot. It wasn't. He really did trip. They just recovered perfectly during that match.
Well, and he took a great bump on it. I thought as perfect as that was, that had to be because I figured, well, okay, they've given him a little out in the finish. I didn't realize they weren't going to give him an out. They were just going to have him eat the kick and be done with it. So now they've taken a real baby mistake that the babyface used, and now they're making him make everybody remember that he fucked up as a work. And then his partner is on the floor arguing with him as he's gotten to. It killed the match. It killed him. Now the baby faces are arguing, and one of the heels came and ran from behind, and fucking Pillman ducked out of the way, and he wiped out Griff Garrison. Or I think maybe, well, Pillman shoved Griff somewhere or another. Griff shoved Pillman, and Griff got wiped out. So Pillman can't even protect his fucking partner, and he was the cause of all of this. And then they double-teamed Pillman over and over right in front of the referee and beat him 1-2-3. Horrible match layout, horrible finish, buried the baby faces, didn't help the heels because it was rotten, and nobody cares about these baby faces because they've beaten both of them into powder, and Pillman had the opportunity to get over, but that time has passed because they bungled it. So, and then they played a video of Pac. Does Pac get paid whatever Pac gets paid just to fucking send these videos in every few months?
Probably.
He was talking about Malachi Black, and they did more spooky shit. These guys watch too many movies. And if Pac is going to be in England, and I know there's COVID and there's travel problems, tell him, good, stay there and come back in a couple of years, or come over here because we're paying you and wrestle on our show. Do one or the other. He's not good enough that they need to cater to this guy. I mean, we've said he looks great, got a great physique. He's short, but the rest of his body doesn't make him look like that. And he looks like a badass, but his matches are hit and miss, and every time he goes the top rope and stands there for 15 seconds before he comes off, it's just cringeworthy. And they're acting like that he's the second coming of Stone Cold Steve Austin. If he's going to be around, use him. If he can't be around, then get somebody else. Pac is going to make no difference in this business, not one iota, 1 degree or another, positive or negative. He's got on a card. What the fuck? It's like they're trying to, it's almost like Tony has said, well, shit, I wanted to do something with him at the start, so I'll just draw this out until I ever can. And people have seen him enough now, they know they've seen what there is to see, and ain't much there. So, speaking of not much being there, Lance Archer versus Frankie Kazarian. Jake is with Archer, but he has sold Archer to Lambert. Is that what we got out of this?
Did he sell him to Lambert, or they just
they've made a deal? They've made a deal.
It's the first time we've seen Jake in months.
Well, yeah, he knew there was a payoff to be had, so he showed up for it. And surprise, surprise, Lance Archer won with his finish because Kazarian hadn't wrestled on TV in 6 months. So what the fuck?
I thought he was the Elite Hunter.
He was, except he couldn't find any of them.
I feel bad. You know what?
Quit hunting.
I feel bad, but Frankie Kazarian got no reaction, at least on TV. I don't know what it was like in the building. He got no reaction. I was going to say the same thing about the Varsity Blondes. Despite all the TV time and despite, you would think some people had some sympathy for Pillman Jr., especially after Dark Side, although they bungled it with the way they were used. Yeah. I've never seen the Varsity Blondes get a reaction from the fans. Because you
said it wrong. You said it wrong. It's not despite of the television exposure. It's because of the television exposure.
Yeah.
The more they have seen them the way they've been presented, the less they want to see more. And then Lambert did a promo about Adam Page, and he did have the good, like, giving hand jobs to heifers to make soy milk for Starbucks. That's the kind of cowboy that Adam Page is. So Archer takes Kazarian to the stage because he's going to make a statement. He's going to fuck Frankie Kazarian up. So, oh my fucking God. Here's Lance. Kazarian's already down anyway. He's taking Lance's finish. Lance Archer, big as fucking King Kong, he gets a chair. But instead of just hitting, if you want to hurt a motherfucker, instead of just bashing Kazarian over the head with the chair, he takes the chair and he puts it out on the ramp. Then he gets Kazarian, he throws Kazarian out on the ramp, and he's going to pick Kazarian up and give Kazarian his finish onto the chair on the ramp. God damn, it's like, I swear to God, if some of these motherfuckers were mad at a guy and had a gun, they would take the gun out, take the bullets out, put the bullets in a fucking sock and use it as a slapjack. But before he could do that, here came Adam Page, dressed though, did you notice?
Yes.
Cowboy boots, jeans, a black dress shirt with sleeves, carrying his title belt. Now he looked like something.
After last week.
And last week was the Smokey the Bear t-shirt and Andre's fringed buckskin vest. So they have a big fight. Lance Archer and Adam Page, and he nails Lance Archer with the title belt. And then Archer blocks the buckshot lariat, but Page clotheslines him out. This was okay. It didn't set the ring on fire. I don't know that the people are into this matchup because it has come out of nowhere. Lance was off injured after he landed on his head for 3 or 4 months. And then he comes back and they just shoot an angle last week. He's in the title picture with Adam Page because they need to give Page another win. Tony's not clever or experienced enough to set this up in a subtle way where people would, before they knew they were going to see it, kind of be interested in it. So it was action. And it certainly wasn't anywhere near the most rotten thing you'll get off this program, but this is a world title fucking matchup, a world title situation. They just the rudimentary called for angle to make make a reason to have the match, even though there is no reason to have the match, and then do it. What are your thoughts before we move on? We're almost there, folks.
Well, briefly, I think Lambert, like I've always said, is minor league. So at least it's a minor league performance and a minor league character in my eyes, and it drags anything else down to that level. And his promos have just become incredibly boring at this point because it's the same kind of shtick over and over. I don't think anyone's ever going to pay to want to see Lance Archer. But, I'm happy Adam Page dressed like a man this week instead of whatever he was last week, because whatever he was last week did not seem like a world champion or a professional wrestler or someone who thought they were tough.
He was dressed like Woodsy Owl.
This week, you look like a guy who may kick your ass if you run into him in a bar. So move up, step up.
And he might be in the same bar that the girls in NXT wanted Briggs and Stratton to go to.
Actually, now that I think about it, I guess he doesn't go to bars anymore. He stopped drinking to become friends with the Young Bucks again.
Ah, that's true. Yes, and that's another thing. Thankfully, now he's got the belt to carry. He doesn't have a free hand for the whiskey and Coke. We mentioned earlier in the program, Dante Martin has so many brothers now that the heels are making fun of it. Because there's Dante Martin with Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty, and now Lio Rush obviously will soon become a free agent, so he can't take up for Dante. Jay Lethal played the part of Lio Rush for, a week, 10 days maybe. Now Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty are keeping an eye on watching out for Dante while his real brother is still injured. And immediately they do a promo with Starks and Hobbs where they made fun of Dante Martin. How many brothers you got? You got a little brother complex, whatever the fuck. This didn't do anybody any favors because it was bad verbiage and bad delivery on almost everybody's part except Starks. But Hobbs and Starks are quality talent that are worthy of a push, but when you're not giving Tony is not giving these guys just good wins to build them up for something in the future. He puts them in equally positioned rivalries with underneath green guys that everybody knows are not in the same league and haven't had a chance to be put in the same league. They just think because they write their names down across the ring from each other, oh, okay, this is a quality matchup because we've done an angle for it. Jesus H. Christ, I'm sorry, but, you know, with Macaulay Culkin at 8 years old and Home Alone versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, if you did an angle, it still wouldn't be an attractive matchup because one guy's hopelessly in over his head. Tony Schiavone was in the back with Layla Hirsch, Red Velvet, and Chris Flatlander, and they were having another fake argument. And then they had another fake fight where Layla turned on both of them and beat them both up. This whole thing happened in less than a minute and a half. The only thing that saved it from being the fakest girls' interaction of the wrestling week was that Bounce Castle six-way fight that they had on NXT. And they left the fake girls' fight in the back to go to the ring so we could see Serena Deeb against Sky Blue. It was cloudy that day, though. There's a heavy chance of rain. The cumulus clouds came in. I couldn't see Sky Blue. Again, I want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock. I don't want to see him wrestle Melvin fucking Kimball. Can anybody, I wrote, still be watching this program? Then they went to another interview with Lambert and Sky and the other page, and that's where they announced that Friday's Rampage would be Moxley against the other page. And then they go to another interview with Tony Schiavone in a stairwell with Matt Hardy, Private Party, the Butcher and the Baker and the Candlestick Maker and the Bunny and Andre Olio and Jose, his assistant. Brian, God damn it. This, you've made the comparison before like a Nickelodeon villain and like this is written for children and the WWE stuff is written for a lot of children. Does anybody, why would they even do something like this when even the people saying these words didn't believe them? Andre Olio has bought 51% of the Hardy family office. He's the new president. Matt's the CEO. He gave a ton of percentages of who's going to get what money where. The group is now called the AHFO. And Andre still wants to buy the little kid that works for Stink. Why would you even do this when it's so silly and nobody believes it and it's not even heels bragging to get heat? It's just nonsense that makes everybody look like children.
This is terrible. Nobody cares. Matt Hardy's been a complete waste since he's been in AEW. Andrade has not shown anyone that he could be interesting at all. No one cares about any of these people, and I think if everyone that was in that stairwell was released tomorrow, everyone's life would move on just fine. And this show would. This show, it just became so hard to watch. It was like, okay, there's no more main eventers. And now it's just, let's get every jerk off on this show. No one wants to see Matt Hardy's shit anymore. It's bad. It's bad. You brought up Sky Blue before. You have a young woman there, relatively new to wrestling, relatively new to AEW, trying hard, looks like she's an athlete of some sort, goes in there, her job was to get Serena Deeb to kick the shit out of her. She did that well. I got no problem seeing Sky Blue on there in that role. I got a problem seeing the Hardy family office and Andrade and all these idiots in the stairwell. Nobody wants to see any of this.
They did a short little black and white video of the Acclaimed making fun of Sting and Darby Allin in a car and...
Did you see the rap?
Falling down and with the rap on the entrance?
No, well, last week, they put out an actual music video.
Oh, okay, I think I skipped that.
It was really good. I know you're not a big rap fan, but the lyrics are clever and it's about what's going on. I don't know what they can do. And of course, they're not the Midnight Express in the ring. But they have something with the Acclaimed, depending on how they use them.
Yeah.
And what they do. But if you saw that rap video, him and Bowens come across like bigger stars, I think, than a lot of the guys in that tag team division.
Well, that wouldn't be hard, but at the same time, I see what you're talking about. And yes, and Caster is funny and witty with the raps, and they have size, and they look like athletes. And, the video that they did here was funny, and the entrance and the rap was good. Again, the problem is they could be one of the few shining spots of the tag team division, but they're presented as idiots and flunkies, and they never win shit. They just go out and they're allowed to, stir people up with the rap, and then they get the shit kicked out of them. Because there's no coherent plan for anybody here. He looks at a list of names, I guess, he gets every week, and okay, well, I'll make matches. This was supposed to be the Acclaimed against Sting and Darby Allin. And Sting and Darby do their big entrance, and the Acclaimed jump them from behind, and they have a fight on the floor. And they put they horse collar Darby Allin with a chair around his neck and then run him into the ring post, run the chair into the post so it hits his neck, and he's down. And the doctor comes to check on him, and everything comes to a halt. And then the announcers say, well, the bell hasn't rung yet. Like it would now. But guess what? It did. Sting is going to have to go it alone. Why? Because that's the way Tony wanted it. There was no reason given. Darby Allin is taken to the back, and Sting starts beating up both heels. There was no reason for him to continue. Let me explain the psychology. When the babyface wants to or has to go it alone. This has been done before many times in wrestling, where the heels will take out one of the babyface members of a tag team. If it's a title match, the babyface of the champions. We did it with the Rock and Roll Express when they lost the titles to Tully and Arn. It was the Midnight that came out and jumped Ricky Morton and hurt him on the floor. And the heels, Tully and Arn, couldn't be disqualified because the match hadn't started and they didn't have anything to do with us. We did it because we were mad at them. And then, unfortunately, because they were committed to the title match, the verdict was given that they have to either forfeit the belts or defend the belts. And so then Robert Gibson said, I'll go it alone. And he did until finally they were about to beat him and Ricky runs out and they still lose. But now the baby faces are mad at the Midnight for causing the loss, and Tully and Arn are new champions. But this is the Acclaimed. They have not been built up as the next challengers for the World Tag Team Championship. There's no title on the line here. Yes, they've roughed Sting and Darby up in the past, but what the fuck? There's no reason why in this case, after the heels jumped Darby and hurt him, why Sting wouldn't maybe jump on him there and try to defend his guy, but they wouldn't just start the match. There was no title on the line. There was no, what's the word I'm searching at? There was no jeopardy or no penalty to the baby faces. They weren't going to lose a belt. They weren't going to lose a shot at a title. They weren't going to lose a major amount of money. What they did was an angle to come back with a match later instead of an angle to start a match. If they'd have done that and Sting had run them off and Darby had been selling, and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to wait until Darby's able to do this, and they book it for 2 weeks down the road, and then they can promo it. Now we're going to get you when we're looking at you face to face, you assholes, instead of you jumping us from behind, whatever. But as it was here, Sting, and bless him, for being 62, he's doing a lot of shit. But this didn't do the Acclaimed any favors. Sting had to beat up both guys. Then they had to get heat on him through a break. And then on the other side of the break, by the time that he starts bowing up a little bit, hit a double clothesline, put the Scorpion on Caster, Bowens hit him with a super kick, and then Sting goes to the floor, and they hit Sting with the boom box. They take forever to set up a double suplex or double something with Sting on the stairs on the floor where the referee is just standing there doing nothing. And Jim Ross says, well, it seems like they've been outside for a while. And then as they're setting this up, Darby reappears out of nowhere with a flying tackle. and save Sting. He's recovered from the hospitalization angle they did 10 minutes ago. And now Darby makes a comeback, but then they took back over on Darby. Even this, the misplaced routine that they're doing here where the psychology doesn't work, they never take back over on the fucking guy that they goddamn had eliminated before that comes back. Oh my God. So then they took back over on Darby, and Sting had to make another comeback. And he, by this time, looked like death warmed over. Because he's 62. And then he's got to make another comeback and then go out to the stage and dive off the stage and put Caster through a table with a splash. They're determined to kill Sting. I'm not talking about killing his gimmick. I'm talking about killing him physically.
Yeah, that splash was pretty rough to watch.
There was no reason to do that. And then Darby wins with a coffin drop. So the guy, they did the angle to take the babyface out so the babyface team could conceivably lose, and then they came back and put the babyface team over anyway. That angle has never been done before ever in wrestling, where the babyfaces end up coming back and winning. Because it's stupid. I couldn't believe it. So they did all that. And then they come back and he beats them. 1, 2, 3, they're off the air. That was brutal. What were the ratings start to finish? How did anybody sit through this? I said this last week, and they didn't lose nearly what I thought they would. I can't believe they got away with it twice in a row.
No, they have their audience, and their audience will stick with them, although some people may be falling asleep as we get closer to the 10 o'clock hour, as I do. January 19th, Dynamite, 1,032,000 viewers.
So really, no drop from last week?
The last 2 weeks, January 5th, was 1,010,000 viewers, and last week was 969,000 viewers.
Okay, so another 60,000 or gear. But how'd they start and how'd they finish?
Their high point was to start the Moxley promo, 1,218,000 viewers.
Good Lord, that's almost Punk territory.
The next segment was the mixed match, 1,127,000 viewers.
Okay.
The next segment was Inner Circle having their breakup, and the Punk match. That did 1,039,000 viewers.
I'm sensing a pattern starting to develop.
The next, something off WWF TV 20 years ago, Christian attacked by Billy Gunn, followed by the Cody promo and whatever else, 1,016,000 viewers. Next, we get the Varsity Blondes match and the Adam Page promo, 1,007,000 viewers. The next segment, which would have been... Oh, Lance Archer versus Kazarian. I guess it was this one, not the previous one. 964,000 viewers.
Okay.
Followed by 941,000 viewers for the Serena Deeb match, and concluding with 947,000 viewers for Sting and Darby versus the Acclaimed.
So over the course of the 2 hours, they managed to lose about 250,000 people.
You know what? All those times Bill Watts would brag about the ratings on Mid-South TV, and he had a reason to. They were legit. They were a powerhouse on TV. They never really had an issue with people just turning off the show midway through it or anything, did they?
No. That's again, ratings were in their, not infancy, but ratings were more rudimentary back then, where you didn't get the minute by minute and all the breakdowns of the demographics and all this and that and the other thing, but you still got quarter hours, and you still got people were just doing it in a recording it in a book, or they had some metered boxes, but there wasn't the instant feedback you get now. But invariably, except if it was a real late night time slot, like starting after 11, in those days, the wrestling programs built the audience over the course of the show rather than lost it, because once you started watching, you didn't stop in the middle, and other people came in in the middle when they came in or whatever. I mean, it was a thing you did in whatever territory you were in. When you were a kid, when you were a teenager, and you were a wrestling fan, you knew to come in from outside at Saturday afternoon at 2:00, or you knew to, make your plans to have dinner over with Sunday night at 8:30 or whatever the case may be. It was destination viewing. And even though there were technically not really any main events on TV back in those days, the last of the program usually was something of the most exciting nature. And of course, we've all seen the show closing Pier 6 brawls from Tulsa. You wanted to wait around to see what was going to happen. And also, you were getting the card that you were going to see at your house show that week or that month. You were getting that information all during the program. So if you didn't watch the wrestling show, you didn't know what matches you were going to see that week at the arena. So you had to watch all the way through to see what the fuck was going on. And so, no, there was no switching back and forth and checking another channel and, ratings dropping during the program, because once you started watching it, no matter what was on, you watched the wrestling show. They lost from start to finish better than 20% of their audience that they started with. That's can you imagine how many people walking out of a movie theater, what it would look like? And there was no reason to stay and watch this because it got worse as it went along. And they were banking, I guess, on people will stick around to see Sting and Darby Allin wrestle in the main event, but Jesus. Then when they see that, they don't want to fall for it again. Go ahead.
The other thing, too, is, and we've said this before, it's a segment-by-segment show. Every now and then you'll get a return promo later in the show from an MJF. In this case, we got Lambert. But usually it's, okay, I've seen CM Punk. I won't see him again tonight. I could turn off. Moxley got a big rating. He always has in the past. I think it was like Moxley, MJF, and maybe early on Jericho. I think those are the three big ones. Maybe not Jericho so much anymore. But Moxley, if you saw that promo, by and large, you're not going to see him again the rest of the show. That's just the way AEW does their TV. They don't give you hope to see someone again later in the show that you see earlier in the show. So if you've seen your guy, you've seen your match, you can tune out.
And sometimes right in the middle of that match. Anyway, before we leave the air today, there were two more wrestling programs this week, both on Friday night. We haven't seen SmackDown yet, and there's a possibility that things on there might be a couple things we'd like to watch. So we're going to talk about that on the drive-thru, but no need to wait to talk about Friday night's Rampage. Here's what they had on Rampage, folks. Moxley beat the other Page the first time that he has wrestled on television in 3 months, and they literally announced it 2 days beforehand. So, and they threw it away, and who gives a shit about the other Page anyway? And it's the first time that he's wrestled on TV in weeks and weeks and weeks. He just sits up in the skybox with Lambert. But Moxley got a win over the other Page. Nick Hardley beat Trent of the Puddin' Gang. Hook wrestled Serpentico. And the main event was Jane Cargill defending the TBS title on TNT over Anna Jay. That's the best they could do for Friday night. Brutality, Brian. So there's no reason to really go into that in any detail because it'll be forgotten in seconds. Closing thoughts on the week, Brian, and I bet you're glad to be back in your comfortable place there. You don't have any interruptions or any vibrations or any noises being made by your home there. You can enjoy your peace and quiet now.
Well, there still are some kinks to work out under the office and things I got to deal with, but I'm very, very, very happy to be here in the palatial office estate of Arcadian Vanguard, and I look forward to the drive-thru in a couple of days.
Just remember, when you go down there in that crawl space, if you see any lumps, just don't dig them up.
Okay.
Leave them right there. Well, we're done here, aren't we?
Thank God.
Good God, I feel like it's the end of Dynamite. Hopefully this program hasn't been as burdensome for you to listen to as that one was to watch. We're coming back with the drive-thru. It may even be on schedule this week. So we got that going for us. And we will have viewer mail, questions, comments, suggestions, cooking recipes, and much, much more on the drive-thru. And next week here on The Experience, we're going to do all kinds of stuff. And we'll think of it between now and then, right?
That's right.
All righty. In that case, folks, until we see you again, this has been The Week in Wrestling, and this has been Brian and Jim saying thank you, fuck you, and bye-bye, everybody.